Hello, and welcome to the Sonic Board podcast. I'm your host, DeoxysPrime, and joining me on this edition, we got Funk.
Hello.
We got Matt.
Hello.
We got Collin.
I wasn't supposed to be here.
And we have OmegatheRobot.
Yo.
Or just Meg,
And
as we like to call him.
I got big news.
Oh my god. Yeah, that's right. Funk has some big announcement.
Whoa. I have big news. This podcast is the first time, to my knowledge, that a podcast has been recorded partly from under a comfy kotatsu.
You said this on the last podcast.
You did.
No, this is the first
You did.
time. I did not.
Absolutely said this on the mid-season podcast.
You
That's
did.
not true.
It is.
Omega, get the quotes.
Can Funk even remember the mid-season podcast?
Yeah, it was great. Like all my work, it was great and flawless.
All right. Well, this is going to be great, too, because we're going to do our Games of the Year podcast. And I
thought this was a Gays of the Year podcast. Well, I got nothing to talk about.
I
nominate Frank.
Funk was just going to talk about himself for like 3 hours?
It's just like every mid-season podcast.
Woo!
But seriously, we're going to talk about some of the games we played this year, with more of a focus on the ones we haven't talked about on the podcast. You know, we do these Sonic Board podcasts so infrequently that there are plenty of gaps in the year that we miss games to talk about. So here is the perfect opportunity to do that. And then I suppose if you want, at the end, everyone can give their Game of the Year, which of course is much, much more important than any other Game of the Year awards that will be given out this year. So make sure you guys choose wisely.
Oh my
God.
This will go down in the annals of history.
Don't give it to a game I don't approve of.
Okay.
Hmm.
I mean, the only other thing is that there are some games coming out that I am definitely looking forward to.
Well, too bad.
What you mean, like in the month of December?
Yes. Actually.
Like what? The Dark 4?
Well, I mean, there's exactly one, which is the sequel to The Moon, which is a game. What?
3 the Moon?
To the Moon.
No, 3 the Moon. It's the sequel.
Oh my god. Oh my god. But no, it's... I don't even know if you guys have heard of that game.
Yeah,
it's like too deep for you. Shit.
Although
it's
to be
not.
fair, in like every Game of the Year from any other place, they always look over December games because
they do.
of the stupid timing of them.
I mean, for the Game Awards, they specifically like make it now so that if there's ever a game that comes out too late in the year, it can be nominated for next year.
Yeah, I believe that's what happened with Final Fantasy 15. Although I don't know why you would give that game any awards.
Can I ask a meta question on Games of the Year? What is the video game industry equivalent of "fuck you"? It's January.
December.
Yeah, I think it would actually be December because it used to be January, but then they started releasing, decent games in January. Like the years become much more compact in terms of big games being released all over the place. But other than Nintendo releasing Xenoblade games at the beginning of December, like almost no one does it.
What about June?
Yeah,
that's like E3
There's historically been like not like a lull exactly, but just very few AAA games have seemed to come out in like June through August through the summer.
They are less frequent, although there are like still some getting put in there.
It's just kind of a dumping grounds for everything that's not going to sell hot in the holidays.
Yeah.
It's like, we can't compete with that. Just release it in June. Like, fuck.
Except for Splatoon 2.
Let's not talk about
R.I.P.
Okay.
We might talk about Splatoon 2.
We technically already did, but
What?
Splatoon.
What?
like on the last Sonic Board podcast.
Oh, was I upset? Did I voice my discontent with you?
Well, Collin
No.
doesn't even remember the
No,
last
because
podcast.
I think back then we were still playing it, even though I had some negative things to say about it.
I
but
see.
you can still voice whatever thing you have later on. But I
Fine.
do think we should start our discussion off with Super Mario Odyssey because that is a game we have actually all played here,
Did that come
Yay.
out this year?
just barely.
Funny boy.
So who wants to spearhead the discussion on Mario?
I will.
Odyssey?
I will. I love Mario Odyssey. It's great. So I got Mario Odyssey. I'm sure like most of us on the day it came out, but because of time zones, that means I got it first.
Aw.
So I think I should be the first to talk about it. Oh, DL just messaged me. So one thing I really like about Mario Odyssey is that it felt really good. So people have been complaining about how there's so many moons everywhere and shit like that, but collecting things in Mario Odyssey just feels great. Even the purple coins and even the golden coins. People have, in talking about the Mario games, have, especially like Galaxy onwards, have referenced how the golden coins in Mario games just don't really mean anything anymore. There's just no value to them because they used to give lives, but now they give lives and lives don't matter because the games are so easy and there's no punishing game overs. So seeing a Mario game where I was happy to find coins again and collect them and it just felt good was very nice. Exploration's back. I loved looking around for the purple coins, even the ones that I fucking hated because they were so hard to find. The first level of the friggin' game, Hat World, Nightmare Before Hat, has the 3 purple coins that were so well hidden that I had to look it up. And I was talking to Steve on Steam, like, I can't fucking find these. I have no idea where they are. Steve told me where they were. And I was like, I've been there because I was confusing that with another place. It was just the whole thing.
Yeah, it's weird because I also had a situation where I couldn't find the last 3 coins, and I thought for sure the ones Funk couldn't find were the same ones I couldn't find, but they were totally different.
Right. But the thing is that there's plenty of games that have hidden items. Collectathons hide shit all the time. Other games have secrets and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the time, I just don't care. I'll want to get the reward, so I just look up a map or something online and be on my way. I don't want to just run around the map for 5 minutes trying. But with Mario Odyssey, I had a lot of fun just pouring over the entire map, head to toe, several times. Moving around as Mario is just so satisfying and so much fun. And the levels are designed so well that it affords me a lot more patience in looking for all the collectibles and stuff that the game has. And even though there's so many moons, like you're tripping over them. They're everywhere. Anything you think is a moon is probably in fact 2 moons because of how plentiful they are. It's still just nice to find all the ones you can, like get some of the hints from the game's systems that they have for hints, and then use those to find the rest. And then maybe there'll be 1 or 2 that you really have to search for. So it's not very difficult, but finding them is still very fun. And for a game that has over 800 of those collectibles, for it to remain fun throughout is a high point. I was amazed that I enjoyed the game all the way through its duration. But that's, it's a Mario game. It's a Nintendo game. I shouldn't be so surprised. But I enjoyed Odyssey a lot more than I enjoyed some of the other games in the series, than like Sunshine or... to say I enjoyed it more than Galaxy is kind of an issue because they're very different games and what they're trying to do. But yeah, I was thoroughly pleased. It met every expectation I could have had for it. I don't really have any great criticism to level at Mario Odyssey. It's not a perfect game, but nothing stuck out with me as being a huge issue with it. So.
I think the thing that surprised me with the game is that I totally expected it just to be another Super Mario 64, which is kind of how they positioned it when they were originally talking about it. Like, this falls in the lineage of 64 and Sunshine. And it does more than, like, Galaxy or 3D World. But this game also feels like an evolution of those games, too.
Right.
It's not just like every world is just a big open world sandbox. Some of the worlds are more linear. But every world is just completely packed with things to explore and discover. It took me back because the levels were actually smaller than I thought they would be. But I didn't really mind that because almost every inch of every level is designed specifically for you to find something. Every like Funk said, and pretty much anything you can think of that would generate a moon probably does. And there are some levels where it's like I don't know how much you want to get into spoilers, but when you open up that secret level, like after you beat the game, like
Right.
there are things that are associated with the game that's based on. Where it's like, I wonder if I do the same thing I did in that game, whether it would give me a moon, and it does. And
Oh yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. It's fantastic.
yeah.
Yeah. So how I view Mario Odyssey, it is like the ultimate celebration of all things Mario. Steve, you kind of hinted about this, but it's kind of like a mishmash of all the previous 3D games.
I'd call it more of an evolution, but yeah.
Yeah, but it has qualities of all like the previous kind of Mario games in a way, and it's its own game, but it also playing through it kind of feels like the like a greatest hits of Mario in a way. And
Go ahead.
well, I was just saying that it's just that's what I like so much about the game. Is like it's its own thing, but it kind of it's on the Switch, and the Switch is, kind of marketed as like the ultimate kind of Nintendo system, is that it's using all the previous Nintendo controller parts and system qualities to its own, this Frankenstein of a system that it was originally presented as. That's how kind of feels like this new Mario game. It's like Steve was saying, like it's the evolution or like this new final form of Mario, as you can say.
So to speak on it being an evolution, I think it is, but I think to say it, so talking about it celebrating previous Mario games, when I think of that, I think more of 3D World. 3D World had a lot of power-ups from older games. It had a lot of levels that in their look paid homage to the older games. Like there's like the Mario Kart level and stuff. It brought in like Rosalina from the Galaxy games, a lot of more superficial things in how it wanted to call back to older titles. Whereas I think that Mario Odyssey does that more in its level design. You have the more open stages, which feel like a 64 or a Sunshine, but then you go into the focused challenge levels, like through those doors in each world, and those feel a lot more like a Galaxy stage or one of the hidden stages in Sunshine that were just very tight, very linear platforming challenges, or more novelty rooms that had their own mechanisms and mechanics. But all the things that call back to previous games are done through gameplay rather than just some aesthetic thing like the music or the visuals or what have you. So that's why I agree more with Steve's assessment of it rather than yours, because I didn't get the sense that it was, look at all the stuff that we've done through Mario's history, and look at how great that was.
I think it is that too. Like you're totally right in the way it presents its gameplay, but it also has like all these costumes from all these niche Mario games in there too.
That's true.
So I think it's the best of both worlds when it comes to that.
Yeah, and nothing ever feels like hokey. Like, remember this?
No,
like this, right?
Yeah.
With the sole exception of maybe the pixelated Mario 64 one, which I liked. I really liked. I played a lot of the game with that, but
and like the 2D sections, but those were also kind of brilliant in how they were presented.
Because those were just very tied into the gameplay. Like they came up frequently. They always had their own individual challenges that played differently and were unique amongst the rest of the level design. So it's like, yeah, that's a callback, but it also just serves as a good gameplay feature.
Yeah, and nostalgia is not a vapid feeling. You know, I think people kind of have this binary look at nostalgia that any sort of playing to that nostalgia crowd is bad no matter what. But not everything
media definitely doesn't help.
Yeah. Well, see, people misinterpret that one too, and that's a whole other issue. But I'm not going to go off on a 2-minute tangent on that. I'd love to. But it's not always Green Hill in every Sonic game, you know?
Right.
Well, we gotta have Green Hill and Chemical Plant.
The reason that people have that visceral reaction to nostalgia, and I'll admit I kind of have it too, is that 99% of the time, and that's a very accurate figure, 99% of the time you see nostalgia in games or in film, it's just done in the most low-hanging fruit, base level, vapid way that you could imagine. And I can totally see why people would just instantly be turned off. It's like, what? It's got a reference to 64. Of course it fucking does. Everybody liked that game. But, you can definitely do it tastefully and you can do it meaningfully, which I think this game does. But, yeah.
I also think it earned
I'm not
that.
going to blame people for going off on it. Huh?
I also think it kind of earned that because there's been enough time since those games. And
right.
the good thing about the developers, specifically of the Mario games, is that they always kind of find a way to, without drastically changing the formula of what Mario games are, be able to keep each game feeling fresh and different from the last, which is quite amazing. Because when you look at something like Breath of the Wild, like Zelda for the longest time had that problem of everything kind of felt the same, and they just needed to completely reboot the formula of that franchise in order to reinvigorate interest in it. Whereas Mario doesn't do anything drastic, but each game still feels very much of its own.
Right.
And this game, especially because it does borrow things from all the other 3D Mario games, but I do think this style of game, the more open world, which is it's not all the game, but it is a good portion of it. I think there's been enough time since Sunshine. We've had enough of more linear platforming focused Mario games, which I do prefer on a whole, but I also think variety is important. And now was the right time to do this style of Mario game.
Right. And it's funny you talk about how the games have their own unique identity, I should say. Because I look at Mario Galaxy 1 and 2, and 2 is obviously just a sequel to Galaxy 1. It's not trying to present a whole new bunch of ideas or have a unique kind of gameplay. But Galaxy 2, in the way that its levels are made and the way that it plays, feels unique from 1. And for it to lean so heavily on the first one, using the exact same game mechanics and still feel unique is really something,
Yeah.
And I also think this game deserves a lot of praise for the capture mechanic, which, when you actually look at it, it's really just a replacement of the power-up system from other games.
Right.
But they've taken that system and breathed new life into it in a way that felt completely fresh. And even though there's like what 40 or something different things you can turn Mario into, like none of them are necessarily complex, but each have their own intricacies in how they play and how you navigate the levels with them. And a lot of them are just like really fun. Like, the fucking onion guy, like, I remember the first time you capture him, and it's like, I don't really get this, but then you get his movement down, and you can actually do legitimate platforming with that thing, and it's really fun.
The crazy thing about some of the captures in the game is that you could literally make an entire game based around that, like, enemy's abilities, and it would be great.
Yeah,
like, I want a fucking entire game based around Pokio, the bird.
Oh my god, yeah.
That guy's great.
A couple more moves, you could make a Bowser action game.
Yeah. All the surprises and everything in this game is so like simple, it's ingenious. Like you would think I would see it coming a mile away, but I didn't. And when it happened, like it was just so perfect. So I have to give credit to the game for that.
One of the biggest surprise in the game was one that I really don't think surprised many people as much as it surprised me, because it was just kind of stupid. But without giving too much away, I don't want to say what it was. But in Wooded Kingdom, there's just another area that you can access.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I didn't find that until I was exploring that for the last few moons, like in the post game. So I was like rolling down the hill, like trying to get these coins, or no, music notes. So you have to like roll in a straight line and hit all the notes, and you can fall off on either side and whatever. And there's like a pit on one side. So I'm like rolling down, and like I fail it for like the third time because I don't have the like really bad at the controls for some reason, so I suck. And I'm like, fucking goddamn it! I gotta climb all the way up this fucking hill. This sucks. And then the game loads me into another area, and I was like, what the fuck? I just started screaming. It was amazing.
Did you start screaming when the T-Rex started chasing you too? Yeah, one thing I
up
figured
until
out,
then, I was like, why did they even put the T-Rex in the game? It's so big, but it was only in one area. That was so weird.
Yeah, and they find like more than one way to bring that back in
Yeah.
a fun way.
oh my god, the fucking Metro Kingdom one is
Oh
really
yeah.
Also, oh my god, one thing I didn't even realize, there's a lot of like hidden shit in the game. Like, I didn't realize until after I found out you can actually like bait the T-Rex in the Wooden Kingdom to run into like a tree, and
Yeah.
then it knocks off its hat, and you can actually capture the T-Rex down there,
Yeah,
which
Oh,
I
wow.
did not realize
that's
until.
how you get one of the moons. Yeah.
Well, you don't.
No, Colin has no patience for this.
What?
Yeah,
Okay,
you didn't
Colin,
100% the game.
I
Fuck.
did everything in the game except for Dark. Oh, I don't know if I should say it if it's a spoiler.
It doesn't
Except for
matter.
the very last level.
Except for the very last level of the game, I did unlock the boner.
The boner? Excuse me? That's what I heard.
The bone zone.
Oh,
Can
okay.
you
I
imagine
did
just
say-
hearing boner all the time?
Welcome to the bone zone.
There's one other element that I really liked about this game is that it is designed very well for what the Switch is. It's the kind of game that you can obviously sit down and lose hours of yourself playing, but it's also a game where you can just pick up and play for 10 minutes and get 5 moons and feel like you did something. Like
Right.
Right.
the number of moons in the game, it is quite absurd, but it's also it's nice that the game has that, because if you're playing this as a handheld game, it works really well as a handheld game because of that, because you can just play it in short bursts and actually accomplish something.
Yeah. I also really appreciate how pretty much almost every single motion control related thing in the game has an alternate non-motion control option too.
Yeah, and
right.
if the game does have a criticism, it's definitely the motion controls.
Yeah. I'm
Because
not a
even some of the alternate ways you can do those aren't particularly well executed. Like, it is tough to pull off the spin move reliably.
It
Right.
is.
And then but the good thing is, like, people have found ways of getting the moons that require motion controls. Like
Which
the
there
one
aren't
in
many
the
of.
like the one in the Sand Kingdom where you have to like make the bullet bill go faster.
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
people have found ways around that.
Oh yeah, you can. I mean, you can do like there are like some like moves for captures that aren't specifically like told to you.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a little almost like a spin / barrel roll kind of thing you can do with the bullet bill that I don't think involves the motion controls. For example, that like gives you a little burst of speed. Same thing with the cheap. If you press I think it's like if you press X and Y at the same time, you do like a little spin
you swim
boost.
faster.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, I would say that a lot of the things that the motion controls let you do are things that aren't really necessary.
Right.
And so, talking of the motion controls, I think there are some like things, whether there's a workaround for them or not, that you can only do with motion controls. And I think the reason that they're not, because the thing about the controls in the game is that they're kind of undercharted given the amount of buttons that the Switch has.
Mhm.
You just don't have a lot of buttons do repeat actions or just aren't used at all. So the reason they did that is if you're playing with only one of the Joy-Cons, you can still do Mario's whole moveset.
right.
And to make up for the lack of buttons in that case, you have to use motion controls to cover some actions that they didn't have the ability to chart with, like keeping the lower amount of buttons in mind.
Mhm.
So we were talking before about how building it for the Switch to be able to move between a console game and a handheld game, how the game does that very well. I think in this case, it kind of holds the game back a bit.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
if they had utilized the full controller and made it such that you could do the motion control actions with either motion controls or maybe this other button or button combination, it would have been perfect. But as it is, with the design philosophy that they had in mind, wanting to accommodate the single Joy-Cons, it's not.
Yeah, and thankfully, at least, like, this is like such a small problem that 99% of the game it's not gonna come up. But it does suck if you're playing it like in handheld mode
And you just start shaking it.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is clearly not designed for that.
Excuse me as I just shake my whole fucking console here.
You're just on the train. It's like ah.
It is really funny though. If you watch like speedrunners play this game and they have like the camera on, and you like see them like
this game is fucking hilarious.
Oh my god, you see them like doing like Mario's little roll move to move around. You just look at their like face cam and you just see them like shaking madly. It's pretty great. That's the other thing. It's insane like how many different things you can do. Like for example, like I think like you know the races
with the
Goombas? There are many.
Races. Yeah, I think the Luncheon Kingdom one now is down to like 19 seconds, which is crazy. And when you actually
if you ever have time, look up videos of people doing these races at a high level.
It's absolutely like it's crazy. It's just madness.
Mario has such a well-developed and fleshed out moveset in this game that I think most players, because there's no need to, will never see like maybe even half of it, because you just have so many options. And when you use all those to like their fullest potential, the movement in the game just changes to a completely different animal.
Yeah, especially once you get like the jumping and then throwing your cap and then jumping off the cap and then jumping to get the cap again. Like it completely changes the way you play the game. And like I played the game for a long time without even having to do that, because it doesn't really require you to do that in most cases. But once you get it down, like it just opens up a whole new way to play the game.
I like how it's not until in the post game that you find the sign that says, "Oh, you can do a dive into your cap and jump off your cap."
That's a high level technique, Matt.
I wish the game did demand that of you a bit earlier.
Yeah, the game is definitely not very demanding.
Yeah, I mean it's fine that it's easy. It's just that I wish there was more of kind of an escalation going on, because the non-linearity of the level design kind of means that things really only escalate with your main power-up of the area until don't escalate until you get to the boss, where they kind of have like some like interesting challenge going on with it, except for the uproot. And I remember I was kind of initially underwhelmed when I was playing the game, and it wasn't until post-game and my second playthrough, not post-game, but definitely on my second playthrough, where I really started to appreciate a lot of the movement in the game a lot more. In many ways, I feel like there is this sort of bell curve in the game where there's this absolute optimal enjoyment at one end of the bell curve, right?
Yeah.
Where you're so good at all the movement and you're getting everything just perfect, right? And it feels so good to play. And at the other end, it's the charm end of it, where you're just charmed by all the different capture stuff and all the presentation stuff going on. Like my friend, when I played this with a friend, it definitely made me appreciate a lot of the capture stuff more, because she was having her mind fucking blown by every time she discovered she could capture something else, because there was a moon just out of reach, right? Mm-hmm. And she thought she had to go find a frog somewhere to go get this moon that was up in the air, because she thought the frog was the only thing that could do that for her, right? And there's like a stack of Goombas just off to the side that she keeps stomping on. And I'm saying, hey, what can Mario become? And she's like, a frog? Yeah, and her mind was just fucking blown when she got the
Collin's
Goomba.
telling the very PG version of this story, where he doesn't just like yell at his friend to fucking throw his hat at the goddamn mushroom.
Well, the craziest thing is that she actually ended up buying a Switch and Mario Odyssey after this, and this is a huge deal because like none of my friends ever get any Nintendo consoles.
Except for the ones that you give them and they don't play.
I never gave. Oh wait, right. That's the 3DSs.
Yes.
Yeah. So then there's kind of people in the middle, right? Of that bell curve. Back to the bell curve. Sorry, I went off on a tangent. Where you could kind of be initially underwhelmed by how easy some of the capture mechanics kind of. Sometimes you'll have the capture mechanic, and then the moon will just be right there. There's only like one little gauntlet challenge there, like barely one little hurdle to that moon. And you could be I ended up kind of underwhelmed because of that. But that was just me. And upon a second playthrough, I think I really, really appreciated a lot more what was going on in the game after that. I even appreciated, because see, a lot of the more linear stuff kind of went over my head on my first playthrough. There was this one gauntlet in the Luncheon Kingdom that had all these rotating platforms in it, and it was an awesome platforming challenge that I kind of just forgot about. And it was actually great. So there's just a lot of variety going on in the game, and I feel like on my first playthrough maybe that was lost on me.
Did you notice that those rotating platforms were just big pieces of Boden?
No, I did not. I'm sorry. My power level's not that high.
Oh my god.
But yeah, it's easy to forget things like that, just because I think of how dense the game is with those smaller quality experiences. Because at some point in the game, it just becomes, okay, here's a door, I'm going to go in, I'm going to get 2 moons, I'm going to get out. Maybe a coin.
Mm-hmm.
So it all tends to blend together. But if you start taking these snapshots of the game, or kind of, I guess, experience it a little more vicariously as you watch somebody else play, or just kind of go in a second time, which I haven't done, you can spend more time just thinking about it on a more individual basis rather than holistically as this game you're just playing now for the first time and you're seeing everything new.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, I also like the boss fights quite a bit more on my second playthrough, because they are actually, even though I was very underwhelmed by basically every brutal boss in this game.
Well, they're basically just Boomer.
Yeah, but then I realized that they were actually very well attuned for speed. Like they all have these neat little tricks. They're still not very hard, but they actually reward you for paying attention with getting through them faster. And I thought that was actually a really interesting way to tackle it.
Yeah, every single one of the brutals has like a quick kill that makes them super. That makes you like either you just take a shit long amount of time and you have to like sit through their entire attack, or it's like, oh, I can just, like the hat guy, it's like, oh, when he like jumps down and does a spin attack, you can just jump on him and it just hurts him.
Yeah.
Yes.
Why wouldn't it?
The game rewards you for being smart.
Yes.
It doesn't punish you by making you wait, or doesn't insult your intelligence. It punishes
Mecha
you.
Wiggler.
Yes.
Yeah.
With the exception of Mecha Wiggler, I think a lot of the game and a lot of the bosses were kind of moving at my speed, like how fast I could kill them, rather than just, all right, I hit him. He's going to be, in 45 seconds, he'll be vulnerable again. But Mecha Wiggler is the exception of that.
Mecha Wiggler fucking
cool,
sucks.
though.
And
I don't.
he looks cool. It looks cool. It's still the worst boss fight in the game because you have to be Sherm for the whole boss fight, and Sherm is the worst capture in this game. The camera angle is weird. Moving it around is stiff. There's motion controls, but only slightly, but they're enough to throw you off, and your projectile is slow. It sucks. Sherm
Also, you don't fire with the trigger button, which is completely counterintuitive to any other thing that has you shoot things.
Sherm just sucks.
I liked on the whole, there's a second round of boss fights, and I found those to be pretty fun, where you revisit old bosses. And in that case, the second time, I liked Mecha Wiggler's fight. But I'll say this, I only did it once. It only took me one try, and it's not very hard, but I don't know if if I were to get stuck on it or something, maybe I would feel less affinity for it because of the time sink of waiting between phases and such. But I did enjoy that second fight.
The refights are fucking like amazing with how different they are, and yet still like basically the same fight. Like I just love the way they did the octopus guy.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
mollusque.
Yeah, where it's just like, well, now you're fighting him in the air and it's just raining, so you have
Yeah, that was
you have
really
endless
neat.
water. Like that was fucking awesome. That's another capture in the game. That's amazing. That like
Yeah.
could
The
basically
Gushin?
be. Yeah, that could basically.
It was
be its
basically
own
Mario
game.
Sunshine.
It was
in
basically
Odyssey.
Mario Sunshine.
Yeah.
Great. That dude's great.
There's this great little challenge room with him where you have to like get to each little pool of water right before you run out. That one was so fun.
Right.
Oh, and hey Funk,
Ah,
did Seaside Kingdom redeem Lake Kingdom for you? Like were you convinced that a water level could be good?
yeah. No, I really enjoyed Seaside Kingdom, and I don't know. To be honest, like Lake Kingdom wasn't even that bad, but it's.
I mean, being
Wha-
able to
it
play as a
did-
cheap mitigates
Yeah.
the water a lot.
Right, but when you're not, like the problem with water levels in the whole is that they always just feel like half a speed slower than whatever the rest of the game is. And I think a lot of the time in Seaside is spent on land comparatively, which is why I liked it more.
Mhm.
But it's like both levels are still well designed, they're still fun. It's just kind of a drag, because I played most of the game through in one sitting. As far as like the main story, I don't really know how to categorize it, but yeah, and getting to the water level is just like a little bit of a dip. It's like, all right, I'm swimming, yeah, and I'm out. But I enjoyed it substantially more.
I that did remind me kind of one thing that I liked as well with this game is that a lot of the levels in the game weren't just the standard kind of levels you see in a game. Like the ocean level was a carbonated ocean level, like the lava level was a food lava level.
Oh yeah.
Like, the forest level was like a mechanical forest level. Like they put some neat twists on some familiar types of stages that I appreciated.
The first
Right,
stage.
desert
The,
level
the
is a
Bowser's
Mexican
Castle
desert instead of
level
an
is the
Egyptian
greatest
desert.
Bowser's Castle level in any Mario game
Oh,
ever.
Oh my
so
God.
good.
Or ever will be
Fucking-
made.
They even have like a good history of that because 3D World had like this glitzy neon casino Bowser's World, which was also
Yeah.
good. And then
Yeah.
this one obviously takes the cake, but yeah, it was fantastic. I got to it, and then I like stopped for the day, and the next day I'm like browsing the Sonic board, and you just post the clip of the Japanese. Yo! I was like, yeah, I know exactly what Steve's talking about.
You can tell the exact point in the game where I got to that level.
And not only
Oh
is it
my
like
God.
like the music's on point, they redesign a lot of the standard Mario enemies to fit the theme. All like the aesthetics and level are perfect. Like they have these bouncing banners that aren't held up by anything, and it all just looks.
It's gorgeous.
It looks great.
Yeah.
It's hard to say like, yeah, they did their homework when it's like Japanese devs doing a Japanese level, but it's kind of silly to say it's authentic too. But
Well, they also did a burger level too, so
they did,
which also feels really authentic.
yeah.
I think Metro
The-
Kingdom may
yeah.
be like my favorite Mario level in any Mario game.
Wow.
It's just so good.
The moment where it flips from night to day just feels amazing. I think when you're plopped back in there and it's like you know the level, but you're seeing it like as it is for more or
Yeah.
less, and
When
the peppy music kicks
Yes,
in. And,
yes.
yeah. It's
I got the same feeling from Wooded Kingdom when you first enter that, when the
Mm,
music first kicks in there.
That
Oh,
that,
God.
that level has amazing music.
Oh my gosh, it's like the perfect kind of like Workin' Joe
Right.
music, right? Oh, perfect.
and it has like this intro that matches the forest that you start in very well. It's like this kind of slow and wondrous kind of thing, and then it pops into this funky guitar beat, which is fantastic as you get to the mechanized stuff. And love it. It's moments like that where not only are you dropped into a level, but attention is paid to how you're going to be feeling. Like how you're going to be feeling when you come from this like this robot boss fight in the rain for the fate of the city, and then you get to see everybody just dealing about their daily lives. Or how does it feel to start like in a forest, like in a strange place, but then you pop into this factory kind of thing, and it's kind of weird, but it's all these robots going around that you want to help, and it's exciting. It's standard platformers, just that you see that many nowadays that aren't garbage, but not that much thought is really put into just individual levels that aren't like climaxes. So it's nice, and that's always been Nintendo's thing, like that little touch, but it shines through here.
Yeah, I think 3D World is a game with amazing level design that's let down by its presentation.
Yeah, I can see that.
And I think that's why a lot of people walked away from 3D World feeling really underwhelmed.
I don't know about that, if only because people were initially underwhelmed when the game was revealed, and therefore actually playing realized it was way, way better than they initially thought it would be.
I mean, you all remember like the first trailer for it, like was so underwhelming for a lot of people, and then they released that second one. It was like, whoa, shit, this is a lot. This looks a lot better now.
No,
it's no Galaxy, but nothing is.
Yeah, I will defend 3D World to death.
Oh,
but yeah. I do think the game's kind of by the numbers presentation kind of informed a bias on people going into it.
Yeah.
Whereas Odyssey kind of shows how important that sort of aspect is to people's enjoyment a lot of the time.
3D World Odyssey would never kick Bowser right back onto the ground like Mario does in the ending. You know what I'm talking about.
This was a no spoiler discussion.
I did not say anything.
Mario beats Bowser? Come on. Mario
just has way more personality in this game than you ever see him have in any other Mario game. Mario in this game is kind of like a douchebag, which is why I like him so much. Like just the way he looks when he does his stupid fucking
characters
game.
That are literally
Are you sure you're not projecting here, Matt?
Mario has a wicked
like Mario is the Chad from the Chad Stride meme thing. He is that guy, and it's great.
Well, we could probably talk about Mario all night, but does anyone have any final thoughts on this game?
Nope.
I want to hear.
No.
Wait, I want to hear each person's 2 favorite kingdoms, and then Peach or Pauline.
Oh my god.
Okay, favorite kingdoms. The Bowser Kingdom for me, and let's say New Donk City, and Pauline. Boom.
I would also say Bowser Kingdom and Metro Kingdom and Peach.
Oh
Didn't
see that coming.
Wait, what is the second thing we're choosing? Peach or Pauline?
Yeah, and I'm gonna say Bowser Kingdom number 1, and then probably Lost Kingdom number 2.
Oh
and
wow.
I'm gonna go with fuck you. It's a tough call, but I'm gonna go with Pauline.
Oh man, it's so fucking hard to choose. Yeah, I guess. Well, I can't say. Oh, you know what?
You could say Redacted Kingdom.
Okay, I'll say number 1 is Metro Kingdom. Number 2 is Achievement Hunt Kingdom.
Are we counting that one? Because I loved that one.
It counts. But it also gets easy. It also gets easy points because of what it is.
Yeah, it kind of does, but
it's also really fucking cool.
Like it's really fucking cool. It has some of the best moons in the game, and just oh my god, everything about it is just fucking great. It's so fucking good. And like it's absolutely perfect. Everything that they could have done in that kingdom, they did. It's like, oh, I bet this is. I wonder if this is a thing. You do the thing, and it's like, oh my god, they actually did the thing. I clapped. I clapped when I did when it happened. But
Very cool.
So somewhere Mikey
then-
is shaking his head.
but
And then-
and also I would say Pauline.
Okay. And Funk.
It's hard. Definitely, Metro's definitely in the top 2. I'm not really thinking about order, but I kind of want to say Sand Zone,
Okay.
because I really did like that one. Although before the game came out, like rather when it was leaking, like maybe the day before it came out, people were posting pictures of Mario walking around the dunes, and they were like, the most empty game of all time. And I found that funny. But yeah, I would say Metro and Sand Zone. And
the Sand Kingdom is probably the worst, like as far as that
Oh.
goes in terms of.
oh yeah, I thought you were just gonna say the worst, and I was like, well, sorry, I fucking
Oh
picked
no,
that.
no, it's not the worst. I mean, the worst. I think we can all agree the worst is fucking Cloud.
Well, that's not even.
I don't
that's-
count that
Which
one.
doesn't really count.
Yeah.
I guess.
Among the ones I
It's
count,
Lake.
I'd probably say Lake.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can understand that. I still really like
I'm also not big on snow. I don't remember
I
ice.
like that one.
I love the Snow Kingdom. That one's
Yeah.
great. The fucking not Gorons are great.
The race, yeah.
The Seal Gorons are the best thing.
Fuck the second race, though.
Oh,
like,
Colin.
sorry, this not. I guess it's the 4th race.
Colin, I don't want to be like an asshole about this, but I just want to mention that I beat every single race on my first try.
Yeah, you're so cool.
Wow.
You're so cool. You beat the final race. You had a worse time than me, and I came in 3rd.
Beautiful.
That's amazing.
This is what I live for.
Oh, we should. Can I just point out real quick? I love that little leaderboard system
Oh my god, that's great.
that they have. Like Nintendo's always been behind the times, like 2 generations in regards to online stuff. But I really like that for every timed minigame and every like, because some of them aren't timed, just based on how long you can last. Whatever, those kind of things. Every minigame has an online leaderboard for itself. And just seeing how many Japanese people you place behind is very satisfying.
Oh my god.
Oh, okay, and Funk.
Yeah.
Teacher Pauline.
I would say Peach only because of her many outfit changes in the game.
Those are
That's
super
true.
cute. Those are
That's
super
true.
cute. Yeah.
Welcome
It's
to the winning
literally
side, Funk.
it's like a hair for me. It's like by a hair for me.
It
It's
is.
not even close. It's not even close.
That the voice puts it over the edge for me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Peach doesn't sing a song, so
Yeah.
Well,
She
technically,
Peach-
doesn't
too.
need to.
If
She's
Peach
a
sang a
princess.
song, she'd win.
Oh my god. That'd be the best Mario game of all time.
Yeah.
But those lips, though.
They don't quit.
Oh my god.
All right, Mario Odyssey, great fucking game.
One more thing I will say. Of all, I think this game may have like the best ending of any video game I've ever played as well.
It's pretty strong.
Yeah.
Easily the best ending of a Mario game, yeah.
You could have hated every single minute of playing this game. It could have been pure pain. But if you weren't smiling at the end, there's nothing that can help you. There's nothing
Not
that can help you.
human. That's all it comes down to. All right, who has a game they want to talk about? I'm just gonna open the floor.
I
up
do.
here.
Oh, are we not taking a break? What's our time right now?
We'll talk about one more game and then we'll take a break.
Okay, all right. Yeah, okay, yeah, Funk, you're so important. Go Funk.
I'm gonna go first in everything. I'm gonna talk about Mario Odyssey first. I'm gonna talk about my game first. The
game
game
you
I
made.
made. The game that I made. I spent like 10 or 8, some number of years since the 4th game in the series that I also made came out, making this game the 5th in its line. If you don't count the many dancing titles that have come out.
It's been like
Yeah.
one.
So, if you don't shut up, Steve.
There's
So-
2 more coming out if you're talking about the series I think you're talking about.
Yes, I'm talking about Dance Dance Revolution Mario. We're talking about Mario Odyssey again, baby.
Oh.
No,
Oh.
Persona 5 came out this year, I believe in April.
Persona 5 is the best RPG
Okay.
I've ever played.
I wasn't
Whoa.
sure if you were just
Whoa.
saying the title of the game, because you had a very long pause there.
Wait, Steve.
I did.
Steve, you've
No.
played Pokemon Omega Ruby, right?
Unfortunately,
So
I can
Persona
tell you
came
that
out.
Persona 5 has the appropriate amount of water in it.
Oh,
this is true, and Persona 5 is great.
Yes.
So I enjoy RPGs. I'm not gonna lie and say that I'm not pretty pedestrian about them. I don't often delve into their mechanics in the most in-depth way, whether it's just strategically for battle and whatnot, or artistically in just kind of pushing the systems to their limit on what you can do. But what really grabbed me about Persona 5 is how much I enjoyed the minutia of just its battle system, its persona system, things like that. It was so much fun for me to just go in. And first of all, I didn't like fully learn about this or grasp it until many, many hours into the game. And the game doles out its content slowly because it's a long game and they're trying to pace you. But even taking that into account, many hours before I really got in the swing of things. But once I did, just going through capturing personas, fusing them all together, buying more, like trying to get the best stats, trying to get some, there's like some bounties on what specific personas you want to make. Like going through all that was so much more fun for me than any like JRPG system that I've come across before, because a lot of them are just kind of bullshit and I want to put in the time, and it's not very rewarding. But this felt very intrinsically rewarding. Just doing it was fun. So I love that. And then of course you have all the stuff that Persona is on the surface more known for, like the visual novel elements and how the story is told, and just the way
I
it
almost feel like
structures,
that
day-to-day
underplays
life.
it. Like calling something visual novels makes it seem kind of cheap, but this game in terms of its presentation is probably the most stylish game I've ever seen.
Oh yeah.
Like, it takes those elements and makes them so much more than what they are.
The game works as a whole. It's got
Yes.
as far as the characters and the story is concerned, it's got this whole theme of like thievery that plays into how the menus look like ransom notes, which in turn plays in like how with the music is more kind of sleek and stylish, with like how these gentleman thieves tend to go.
Well, it's like it takes that theme and runs with it all the way.
Right.
Like every dungeon in the game, except for like the space station. I don't know if you got there yet, but
Yeah.
every other dungeon in the game is related to that theme, and it just plays into perfectly everything they're going for.
Which is impressive to have a completely thorough holistic vision.
Yes.
It can be easy to start out making one thing and then maybe you stray in one area or maybe you stray in another, but to start beginning end and have a thorough vision, it's something you see a lot more in other kinds of media, because you're making, I don't know, a 90-minute movie or a 200-page book. Things are usually shorter than these like 60-hour RPGs. So to remain so consistent throughout is very, very impressive.
Yeah, 'cause
And-
normally there'd be a temptation to want to do something different for variety's sake, but the game has enough variety in its dungeons while still keeping to that theme that it's legitimately impressive.
Also, can I say that the Persona series is the best sequel to Majora's Mask that I've ever played?
God damn it.
So, the
What?
my favorite part of the Persona games is the key gameplay element.
Which ones have you played, Funk?
It's just this one.
Oh, okay, this is the only one I played too.
Nice. No, I'm completely talking out my ass in regards to the series, but for this game, my favorite part of it is how the most basic gameplay element isn't like the battle. It's not exploring the dungeons. It's time management. Planning out the days and the weeks and the months of how your character spends his time. Because, you can up your stats, you can go into dungeons to do battle, you can build social links, you can go in money. There's so many things you can do, but trying to maximize that, because it's not going to halt your progress through the game. It's about seeing as much of the game as you can because of how many things are locked behind certain stat requirements. And you can only do so many things in one day. So here, like I have notebook pages. It's like, okay, for this, this, and this, I need to have this stat up here, and for this, this, and this, I need this stat, and for this mission, I need to go talk to this person here, and that's going to take a chunk of my time. And trying to be the most efficient in doing that is A, very stressful, but B, very fun. And
I would say like the fact that each individual day doesn't have a time limit helps a lot. Like it's not like you need to get all these done by a certain time. It's like you have certain times a day, and you can spend as much time as you want during that time of day.
It's just once you choose an action, the clock moves forward.
Yeah, you're committed to it.
Yeah. But you can go around and like survey your options, see, because some people aren't available to hang out for your social links one day, or you can only do this job to earn money at a certain time of day. And the game, you're almost overwhelmed in the amount of options you have, because you have like 20-something social links you can build, and there'll be 8 people who all want to hang out at a certain time. What's it like? But with it, it's just you find yourself forsaking certain things. It's like, okay, I just know I'm not gonna build this person's relationship to the highest level and see their whole story play out, because if you spread yourself too thin, you're not gonna experience everything to its fullest. So that amount of choice is a lot of fun. The fact that you have tangible rewards, both in gameplay and in the emotional satisfaction of seeing these character arcs play out, gives you something to work for. Because otherwise, it's just clicking through menus. It's not challenging as far as
it also gives actual value to playing New Game Plus, because there are so much in this game you won't see the first time by design. So that when you play the second time and you can see everything, you don't feel like you missed anything the first time, but it gives so much more value to that second playthrough of just finding all these neat little stories that you never got to before. But because like almost all of like the confidants in this game are really well written and interesting, you're very much compelled to want to do them all in the end. Like I remember like the fucking the politician guy.
Yeah.
Okay, so he was the first time in the game I had that moment of like, I'm talking to this guy, I realize he's going to be one of my confidants in the game, but it's like I don't really find this interesting. I'd rather talk to the girls, But then the more you talk to this guy and the more you hear this guy's life story, the more invested in you're wanting to help him, and it just became like over and over each of these people in the game that you meet, just finding out their stories and having them almost all be interesting in some way or the other. Whereas going in, I was expecting, okay, I'll talk to this girl and this girl and this girl, and maybe I'll date one of them, and that's it. But I ended up becoming so engrossed in just about everything that game was giving me.
Right. And being able to make the time outside of dungeons and battle be that interesting is the game's greatest strength, because everybody can think of an RPG that they played where maybe they enjoyed the dungeons, but it was like slightly too much dialogue or cutscenes, or maybe it was the opposite where the battles weren't very interesting. But this game nails both. So you'll find your time heavily delineated like that. Like you'll be in a dungeon for hours, or you'll be outside of one for hours. So to design a game where you're always pining for one or the other is you're not going to end up with a great product. But since both are so enjoyable, it's like, man, love it. And just when you might be getting tired of one, you're thrust into the other.
Yeah.
And the pace is just so good. Now, I could understand that not everyone might enjoy that kind of time management as much as I do, or they might not view it in such a min-maxy way where it's not even perceived as a challenge. But man, for me, it really hit those marks.
Yeah, and just like I'm actually really glad I never played like any of the other games, because this style of game hit me so much harder because this was my first one. Whereas I imagine a lot of people, the way I feel about Persona 5, they probably felt about Persona 4. The way you hear a lot of people talk about that game. But to me, like, the reason I think it's my favorite RPG is like it's one of the very few ones where I actually felt myself invested in the role of my character, like not like in a self-insert kind of way, but in following this character and his life and all the relationships he makes, and forming this group of friends who I all became invested in and genuinely cared about. And, we've had very different ways of playing this game, Funk, whereas you're still not finished it, and you're very much stretching out your playthrough over a very long period of time. Whereas it took me 75 hours to beat this game, and I did it in 3 weeks. And it was just such an experience like I've never had with any game before, because like the way I kind of describe it is like, imagine a year of your life and then compress everything you like feel and do in a year into like a 3-week span. It'd be very overwhelming, and that's kind of the feeling you get playing this game, because you're very much living this person's life, and that's such a unique and interesting concept for a video game. That it just, when I got to the end of it, I was like so emotionally drained from living this person's life. But I loved that feeling of it. Like no other video game I've ever played has made me feel this way.
Right.
And it's also made me feel and experience things I could have but never really have in real life. And I'll give you the perfect example. So you can date the girls in this game, right?
Okay.
And the way...
Oh, you're
the
not
way
just
these...
stopping there?
I have some small amount of experience dating women in real life, but putting that aside, the girls are written in such a way that some are clearly intended to be more of a romantic interest than others. And eventually, in all the routes with the girls, you'll get to the point where you have a choice to date them or not. And, because I was only going to date the one perfect woman in this game, which is Kawakami.
Or so you said.
No, that's the actual truth. That is God's truth about this game.
No,
but,
I just mean that her being perfect.
Well, she is, but
Okay.
anyways... If you do, because you can date multiple people, but I did not want to do that. I'm a one-woman man here. So I had to turn down all the other girls when I got that far in their confidant route. And some of them, when you turn them down, because it's written, they're more friendly with you than a romantic interest. Like, it's easier to choose that option, to choose no. But there are some girls in this game, and one in particular, where... It actually hurt me to reject her, because you literally put her in the friend zone. Like, that's what happens in her route if you turn her down. And I've never had that experience before of having to do that to a girl. And because I was so invested in these characters, like, I actually had like a horrible feeling in my stomach having to do this.
Aww.
It was legitimately heartbreaking, and it just added to the experience of playing this game and making me feel things that I've never felt before, which, I love video games, but I'm always more of a person who loves them for the gameplay, and this game does have terrific gameplay. But it also crafted an experience that I kind of wrote video games off from ever really being able to give me, and that's what this game gave me. So that is why I am so incredibly high on it, because it is just an amazing role-playing experience.
So I want you mentioned the differing ways in which we played this game, you and I. I got the game the day it released, and I played it the day it released, and I played it a lot throughout that month. And then I moved to Japan. So I have been playing the game about a pace of maybe like 8 hours every month.
Well, it's like you don't need to play Persona, because you can literally go out and live it right now.
Yes. I'm gonna right after this. I'm actually going to my hideout to then break into someone's palace, just live in the game. But
yeah, but like if you want to go to Shinjuku, you can go to Shinjuku.
I went to Shinjuku. No, yes, I went to
he
Shinjuku
did.
and I got thrown out of a Brazilian themed bar. But
No, but it is cool that like
yeah,
for the rest of us, we can experience that
yes,
through this game, and it like I've never been there, but I imagine it does capture it fairly well.
it does. But the point I was making is that playing it at about like I play it like once a day every month, and when I do play it, I sit down for that entire day and play. And it's you mentioned living out a year in this character's life. By having that complete space of when you're playing it, it really stretches it out and lets me rather kind of, it's like I'm checking in with this person,
Yeah.
just as their time's going along. And it's lent a unique feeling to it. I'm just as invested in it as I think you were by how you were talking, but by having so much time separating when I check in, it's like, man, I really want to see what's next. Like, I'm really anticipating it. The past couple weekends, like, man, I really want to play Persona, and like maybe I'm too busy or I'm too tired to sit down for that amount of time and play a game, but I'm like really looking forward to coming back to it. And this happens every time. So like it's this omnipresent force in my life that's like, oh man, eventually I'm gonna get to play Persona again. I'm gonna see the next step of the story, do the next dungeon. It's gonna be great, and eventually that's gonna end. And I'm not looking forward to that.
Yeah, it was one of the times where I was legitimately sad that the game ended because I did not want it to end. But yeah, it is nice that the game allows it to be played in many different ways. Because I know from my example, it's just like it became like an actual addiction where it's like I could not stop playing it. Like I had to force myself to sleep at times because that's how much it was like that's how much it consumed my life over like a 3-week span. There have not been many games that have done that.
Mm-hmm. I feel you.
But I also want to mention that I talked before about how much style this game has.
Oh man,
I this game has what can only be described as like menu porn. Like every single menu screen and transition has its own unique animation. I like every other video game designer should look at this game in terms of like how you design a user interface. Like it is unbelievable that they put this much effort into something that most people will never appreciate, but I sure as hell do.
And it's exceedingly functional too for how good it
Yes.
looks. It doesn't sacrifice a bit of user friendliness. It's really really great.
Yeah, and I love just how like just about everything of this game has some kind of impact with you. Like even in a battle, like when you tag in a partner, that is legitimately hype every time it happens. Or like when you do an all-out attack, and then the game, in order to keep it fresh, every character has like their own splash screen at the end of an all-out attack. So every time I got a new party member, I was like, I want to see what their all-out attack looks like.
Exactly it's so, and there's just so many little things like that to discover that you could do the whole playthrough without paying attention to, but it's there if you want it. And that's what's great about the game. It rewards you on many levels for how much time and effort you're willing to put into noticing its intricacies, because you could play the game at tons of different ways on different levels of engagement and interaction. And I think it scales very well upwards with how much engagement you put in versus how much enjoyment you get out. So, man, I love it. I really do.
Yeah, and it's like the battle system it has complexities to it, but it's also very simple. It's easy to get into, which I appreciated. But then you have additional levels of things you can do during a certain battle, where like you can obviously capture a new persona, or you can hold them fucking hostage for ransom money, or just shake them down for items and shit like that. Like just stuff that's not really in most RPGs. There's just so many things going on. And I really appreciated that you just had an option on your menu that was just called gun, and then you can just shoot person. Like that was really nice.
The last thing that I want to call attention to that we kind of touched upon is the music of the game.
Oh God!
Yeah,
this game's soundtrack is phenomenal.
It's stellar, and it's the word of the night. It's consistent.
It's so good that Funk, who absolutely loathes video game music, won't stop talking about this soundtrack.
Oh, it's amazing. I've told you guys this story, but to have it on digital record. I teach kids, and through many times like snack time or play time, they'll ask us to put on music just to kind of fill the room. And I regularly just put on Persona 5 music because of how good it is. It's what I really like about it the most is that it feels like the same band is just going through their set and playing like song after song. It doesn't feel like, oh, this is a desert themed dungeon, so we're going to bring in all these different musicians and different instruments and have them do their own thing. It's the same people, the same writers, the same musicians playing throughout. So it gives it this backbone that you can trace throughout each of the game's tracks. And
there's a good variety of music.
Oh
in
yeah,
the game too.
not to say it doesn't
also
it doesn't sound the same, like as far as genre or dynamics or tone. It's just slightly more ephemeral, the feeling of coherence that you get from it. And man, just the songs themselves, like they're all they all loop. It's background music, but oh my god, it's so well done. And what I love the most is the theme that plays during the little intro at the very beginning before you start the game, which is then kind of retooled for the epic boss encounters where you storm the palace to take the treasure. Like, two completely different takes on the song that both sound amazing, but the latter, oh my god, the fucking one that plays when you go into the dungeon, it's so good. It's so good.
They do bring the vocal version back at a certain point, and it is a good example of how well this game uses music, because it knows the right time to use the vocal version of that song. What
I really like, speaking of vocals, is the theme that plays when you're kicking around town, like at night. It's a great song, but sometimes they'll have the vocals and sometimes they won't. And I don't know what the rhyme or reason is, but
you eventually hit a point in the game where it unlocks the vocal version.
But it almost doesn't feel like anything. And I mean that in such a good way, because the song is just kind of like moody and low energy. And then when this like lounge singer comes in, it's just like, yeah, it's not hype. It doesn't fill you with strong emotion, but it's like that was there all along.
It perfectly knows how to underscore the mood of the game. It's not trying to set the mood itself. It is underscoring the mood. Yeah. And and then it has the rain version of that song, which is also amazing.
It's
like that just level of attention to detail was great.
I could talk a lot about this, but for some reason what just kicked into my mind was this one song from Sonic Adventure 2 that it's like this organ song that I think it like accompanies Rouge on like some cutscenes where she's doing spy stuff, but I don't know when it appears in the game, but it's just tonally similar, and it just made me giggle. It's like, yeah, I'm thinking about this fantastic 10 out of 10 soundtrack, and fucking Sonic Adventure 2 comes to mind. It's one of the songs that's kind of similar, but man, it's worth playing Persona 5 just for the soundtrack, if that's the kind of thing that you would appreciate. And then everything we talk about is just heaped on top of it. The game just does it. It nails it in every area you could think of.
Yeah, and I'll also say, like, even if you're someone who's not huge into RPGs, this is a perfect RPG for you. Because, I don't play a ton of RPGs. I've grown to like them a lot more in the last couple years. But this is definitely the one that's like, I'm just over the moon about. And it is pretty close to perfect in everything it does.
And it doesn't pull its punches for new or fans that aren't, or people that aren't fans of JRPGs. It's not like that. It's not like, oh, I didn't like JRPGs, but this one, you can shoot a gun. No, it doesn't make compromises, but it's still accessible. And that's another one of its many strengths.
Yes. Play Persona 5. I know the rest of you haven't.
Yeah, I guess I have to get this game now.
I'm sorry. I should have gotten it while it was on sale.
Colin's still burned from that time I recommended Digimon to him.
I actually am still kind of miffed about that one.
Let me just say, waste. I didn't recommend Digimon, so don't hold Persona 5 against Steve.
Okay.
I have the game. I've had it for a while, and I just have not played it at all, mainly because of just I don't know.
It is tough because you have to devote time to it.
That's probably one of the big problems, because most of my time this year has been devoted to either Breath of the Wild or Mario Odyssey.
Yeah, and it's not really a game you can just play for like half an hour.
Not at all.
Like if you play, you're gonna be
Yeah.
playing for hours.
When I said I played it for 8 hours like every month, that's not like, oh, I guess I just have 8 hours free. It's like I've carved out 8 hours to play this game because I know I'm going to need it. And it's not like, you have to play it in that long of chunks, but I would not sit down for a session with Persona 5 that wasn't at least like 3 hours long.
Yeah, especially if you're taking on a dungeon, you typically want to do that in one go.
Right.
It's
And
better to do it that way.
You don't feel this sense of like, oh, I have to keep playing. Like I have to finish this now because like some save function or whatever. It's like you enjoy it and you want to keep going,
Right.
just by how much you're having fun. But yeah, a lot of just the way the game's structured, like the day system has like a potato chip kind of quality where it's like, oh, well, my day's over. I'll do one more and I'll do one more.
Right.
A lot of times when my play session's winding down, it's stretched out at least a half hour just because of how easy it is to transition between the days without even thinking about it. But the dungeons, I don't know what it is about them, but maybe it's because of how the day system works and that you're incentivized to get them done quickly that it makes you feel like you want to do it all in one sitting.
But yeah, because like when you go into a dungeon, it uses up the day.
So you want to do as much as you can.
Yeah.
Which but you can technically just like go into the dungeon, reach like a save point in there, leave and come back later. But that's just less satisfying. Maybe it's a person by person thing. You just play, I'll stop here, whatever. I don't know, but the game is definitely worth playing, especially if you already own it and have spent $60 on it already. I would recommend playing it.
Right.
Yeah, but it's. Like I don't even know what to say. You bought it. You bought it. Go play it.
I mean, I bought a lot of games I just never.
This
played.
isn't like, oh, it was on Steam sale for $5 and it's a 2-hour puzzle game about
Oh
sausages.
yeah, I know.
It's
I mean,
like...
I've done that for other games too. I'm not saying yeah.
He'll get around to it.
I'll get around to it.
One
I
can
have
only
it.
hope.
I have it, and I have no reason not to play it, other than just sheer laziness.
Stay tuned for next year's Game of the Year Sonic Board
No.
podcast where Matt talks about Persona 5.
I'm gonna wait for like 3 months. Matt's gonna message me on Steam. He's like 3 hours into the game and he's like, why did I wait so long?
Or I'll be like, now I remember why I never played Persona 4 or 3.
It's
I hope it's not the case, but
I mean,
it's possible. I hope not.
It's possible.
I hope you enjoy it. And
I probably will.
I will say this: the game has a dearth of things to get mad at.
Oh
so
boy.
it's almost perfect for you. It's very forgiving. I played a lot of JRPGs where you like die on the boss fight and you have to watch like a 20-minute cutscene again and go through this whole thing. But with this, like it is, when you fail a boss fight, for instance, you can restart that fight. You can restart at your last save, or you can restart when you entered the dungeon.
Mhm.
And that's forgiving. Other times, like if you go 40 minutes dungeon crawling and die, yes, you will not be happy about that. I would recommend saving often. Just
I mean,
whenever I think of Matt enjoying a game, I think of how could somebody get mad at this. And that's number one. Just not saving often enough. But if you do that, I think this is very Matt friendly.
I'm pretty fucking autistic with saving. I mean, if in Pokemon games, I get like, it's legitimately difficult for me to go like 2 battles without like saving. So.
Well, the thing is with those is that saving is right there in the menu. Unless you're outside of a dungeon, it's in the menu here too. But once you're in a dungeon, there's like designated save rooms.
Yeah, I mean, I dabbled a little bit into, not Persona, but I did play a couple hours of SMT Nocturne. So I have a kind of good idea of what these games are like. And I remember I did enjoy those few hours of that game, which I played, like I said, like I played like 2 hours of that, and then I just never played it again.
Well, this one has all that plus anime titties.
Plus, it has anime titties, and it has teacher relationships.
Sure does.
Pretty
Oh,
hot.
now I know why you're watching that
the
hentai.
the good ones and the bad ones.
Oh my god.
Oh god.
Villains who did
Are-
nothing wrong.
See, Colin's like, oh, I haven't played the game, but I've read all the threads.
I've got the memes, kids. Don't worry.
All right. I mean, I'll play it eventually.
Great. Good news. All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. Welcome back to the Sonic Board podcast. I believe Matt wants to go next. So, Matt, tell us what game you want to talk about.
All right. So I'm gonna talk about A Hat in Time, which is okay, which is a 3D platformer, by a new developer called Gears for Breakfast, and it's actually also a Kickstarter game, which obviously raises a lot of eyebrows and makes people very worried.
Flags.
Red flags. But it's actually very good. It's one of the very rare cases of a Kickstarter game actually being quite excellent. So Hat in Time, it's a 3D platformer, very obviously inspired by games like Super Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine, and Galaxy, and a little bit of Banjo-Kazooie in there too. Actually, a little bit of Paper Mario also, surprisingly. So the game is primarily a 3D platformer with like I don't want to say big levels because levels are pretty small and compact, but it's got a little mix of like all the 3D Mario games in there. I guess I should start like the game is about Hat Girl, who is just a cute girl who wears a top hat, and she also flies around in a spaceship that is also a time machine. And
Lady Doctor Who.
and it's powered by these magical hourglasses. And what happens in the game is that she goes to this planet Earth. So I guess I should start. Apparently, Hat Girl is canonically an alien, but
Aren't all cute girls aliens?
I suppose so.
Wow.
I mean, no parent would ever name their daughter Hat Girl, so
That is true. She goes to this planet, and one element of the game that's important is the mafia. So the mafia comes up and is like,
"Well, this is a very fantastical game.
we're collecting tax from you because this is like space tax or something. I forget exactly what it is, but they basically like burst into her ship, causing all the hourglasses to fly out and scatter across the world, and the whole game is you trying to collect them all back.
Wait, is her spaceship the Master Emerald?
Kind of, I guess so. And then she meets another girl called Mustache Girl, who is literally just a girl in a mustache.
That's not how girls work, Matt.
And Mustache Girl is kind of like lawful evil in that she wants to purge the world of good using these hourglasses, whereas Hat Girl's like, yeah, fuck that. I just want them back. And so she's kind of like the main villain in the game. She doesn't really come up often. Like, she's really only there in the beginning and the end of the game. But that's not really important. The first level is great. It's called Mafia Town. It's like a very Super Mario Sunshine inspired level that's like a kind of tropical-ish island with some cities. The Mafia are silly. They all have cute, stupid, like Russian accents. Super stereotypical Russian accents. That's one thing that's interesting about the game too. It's actually fully voice acted, which seems like a terrible idea for a 3D platformer. I mean, we all saw Super Mario Sunshine, but
I mean, it does have the voice of JonTron in it, so you definitely should not buy this game, according to NeoGaf.
It does have the voice of JonTron, which is kind of funny because he only appears in one level. He's a side character who just is like who has one line. and it's something that you would probably most likely never even think. It's a character you probably would not talk to at all if you weren't like specifically like trying to talk to every single NPC in the game.
But you're missing the point. Like, it's worth boycotting this entire game because of a couple lines of dialogue from John.
I know. I mean, it's just so terrible the fact that he said said something
Where's this
stupid.
going?
I don't know.
Wow,
You
this
do know about
podcast
that.
is really triple X.
You do know about that whole thing, right, Omega?
Yes.
Let's
Oh,
let's
yeah.
not dwell on that. Just
Yeah.
let's talk about the game.
John showing
Jontron went on a killing spree. He killed like 10 black people.
he can't keep getting away with this.
Jontron bombed the whole country in Niger.
Jontron shot that entire like concert. That was full Jontron.
Jontron dropped 2 bombs on Japan in 1944.
But that just wasn't enough though. But yeah, the game is fully voice acted. Oh, that is another thing. Collin,
Yes.
Xander Mobus, is that his name?
Xander Mobus, the Smash Bros. Announcer /
Yes.
Joker from Persona 5.
Yes, he is in this game too. He
Oh,
plays.
wait. Really?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
He
Continue.
plays a stereotypical Scottish accent bird conductor,
Oh.
and it's great.
He's doing his best groundskeeper Willie.
Yes, he's hilarious. He's like one of the best characters in the game.
Oh,
But
that's great.
yeah, so every level in this game is very different from the last. The first level is like a very typical Super Mario 64 or Super Mario Sunshine level, where it's just like a big kind of sprawling level where each mission has its own hourglass. And you just do like a little mission for it. The second level though is very different. It's much more linear. So the second level all has to do with these 2 characters. One of them is the conductor, and the other one is like this penguin with an afro who's like a stereotypical like disco dude with like the afro and everything. And they're filmmakers, and they're like doing like this like film battle, this like movie battle thing. And most of it is actually like a stealth section. Like there's like stealth elements in the levels. Like this world is like almost entirely linear, except for like a couple sections here and there. It is very all over the place. But it's just great. It's hilarious too. The writing in this game is top fucking notch. It takes like the writing is like, let's take Paper Mario and put it into a 3D platformer game. And it's just done exceptionally well. The jokes are great. Oh, there's one part of the game where there are these crow dudes on a train. Like there are these crows who are investigating this train in this world with all the bird people. And they ask you like these like questions, like they're like, they'll say like, what would, like, if you had a pet and that pet had a pet, what would your pet's name be? And you have to put it in.
This is too intense.
And then there's like one part where it says like like basically it's like they're asking you questions that would be like questions that you like would put in like for like a password for a website. Like security, they're like asking you all these security questions. Like
Your
that's
mother's
the joke.
maiden name.
Yeah, like stuff like that. It's actually really funny when you actually see it in the context of the game. Oh, one question they ask is like what body part are you most embarrassed of? Which comes up later, and if you put in a certain body part, it ends up being absolutely fucking hilarious later on in the level.
Is it penis?
That is one of the options.
Is it your appendix?
You do get an achievement for typing in like an option like that.
They know.
They know.
So
I
what's
think-
what's the one that comes up being funnier? Let's all guess.
What?
No,
what's
let's
the-
not
you
because
said-
I want to play the game.
I
Wow.
don't want to spoil any more than that. It is really the game is really funny. It's really fun. The movement in the game is like amazing. Like this is probably the best 3D platformer I've ever played that is not made by Nintendo. Like in terms of just sheer movement and good controls. It's super tight. Like it never feels like any of your inputs are like lagging or floaty. Like nothing about the game feels floaty. It's just extremely fast paced and well done. The boss fights are amazing. Like the boss fights are so fucking good. And the game is legitimately challenging at times too. With and there's just a ton of variety. Like there's actually like there's a section of the game that's like almost like a survival horror kind of thing. There's a section of the game that's like something taken straight from Crash Bandicoot. There's a whole giant level in the game that's just a big free roam level too, where unlike all the other worlds in the game, it doesn't kick you out of the level when you get a hourglass. It just kind of takes you back to the beginning of that level because of how big it is. And it's great. And the game has a lot of charm. It has two dedicated like taunt buttons. One of them is Hat Kid like puts her hands up to her ears and like sticks her tongue out and does like little blah thing. Like the I guess raspberry is what it's called.
Blowing the raspberry.
And like there's a dedicated button for that. What?
Never mind. Just go on that.
Why are we laughing?
Everything just stopped.
There's also a dedicated smooch button too.
Whoa.
You can blow a kiss.
Is there
with
a
little
dedicated
heart.
wham button?
There's not
Oh.
no.
Nice. Nice.
Listen, someone had to do it.
It is
No one had to do it.
No, not really.
The game is just super cute. It's got a ton of charm. It's super fun. It's pretty short too. Like you can 100% the game. Like you can pretty much. It's pretty easy to 100% the game. You could probably get it on your first playthrough. It's only like I don't know 10, 12 hours long to 100% it, but it's still just really satisfying to play and super fun. Oh, the music in it is great too. Writing's great, music's great. It's cute.
Sounds like a fun little package.
It's a
what
fun
she
little
said.
package, and it's $30. It's only $30 too, so it's definitely worth the money. And you
If
should all
you can
buy it
buy
when
it.
it comes out
Yeah.
on December 6th. If you don't have a PC that can run
Nice
it.
ad.
I'm gonna rant about this
What?
because it's the only thing I have to contribute to the game. It's disgusting. So, A Hat in Time came out last month. I don't know the exact day. Maybe
Actually,
the month
it came out
before
in
that.
October.
It actually came out in October, yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, great. You know, I remember I saw this game. The first time I saw this game, fucking Cosmo Wright was streaming it as it was
no,
like an
no, no.
early
You
build.
mean Narcissa, right?
Oh my god.
Don't dead name Funk.
This is the worst podcast, but no. So I have seen this develop for a long time. It's like great, you know, that game I've seen people stream it. I'll buy it. It looks fun. So I go to the PSN store and I'm like, oh, it's not here. Oh, that's strange. It's supposed to be out today. So I go to look and I'm like, let me check the release date. Every release date I found, October, whatever it was, 20 something. I don't know. It's like it should be out today. It's weird. I look at the official website and I look at the Twitter and it's like, wow, it's out today. It's out today. It's out today. Coming this fall for PC, Xbox 360, and PlayStation. And it's like, great. I cannot wait. Cannot wait. But it's strange because it's not in a PSN store. So I do some more digging and I do some more digging. I look around, I look around, I look around. And fans are saying like, wow, it's not up on the Xbox Live Marketplace. It's not up on the PlayStation Network store. It's so weird. And nowhere in their official publicity releases does it say that there's separate release dates for console and PC. Nowhere on their website do they indicate as much. And anytime they say it's released, they don't say it's released for PC. It's just that it's out today. And I was so mad. I was like, fuck you. Because eventually I found out that they weren't handling the port to consoles, that maybe their publisher was, that somebody else was. So I get that the actual developer might not be in tune of when the game was supposed to be released on other platforms. But at no point in their advertising or in their tweets or in anything do they make this clear. And that really rubbed me the wrong way. Like, I was so angry that I had to dig around the internet for like a half hour just trying to find out why I couldn't buy this game that was apparently released.
This game does have a very odd marketing going on. Like, the marketing and everything for it definitely does feel amateurish, which makes sense since it is from a brand new developer who's like some kid from like Sweden or something. But it is very strange. Like, there is like nothing, there's like almost no news about it for like a good year or two.
Yeah, it went away for a while.
Like, I think the Kickstarter started in like 2013, and like it took them this long to finally release it. Like,
there was a point where I legitimately questioned whether this game was ever going to come out.
Yeah, same. And I was hesitant to buy
Every
it.
Kickstarter title ever. Yeah,
because it's like, is this even like worth buying? Like, is this going to be another ukulele? But it wasn't. It's actually, it blew ukulele.
So funny you mentioned that.
Oh no,
you stealing my thunder a bit. But
oh no.
I did want to briefly touch on ukulele because it is another 3D platformer that was kickstarted
with JonTron
and came out this year. And I'm only going to talk about it quickly because I only played a couple hours of it. But that game fucking sucks. Like, it blows my mind that like in terms of the aesthetics, instead of the atmosphere, instead of the music, the soundtrack's not that great, but it's still like very derivative of banjo. But like, they kind of got everything mostly right except for the fucking controls, which were the most important thing. I played that game for like 2 hours and I could not do a simple platforming challenge in the first level because of how bad the controls were. And after failing it like 7 or 8 times, I just turned off the game and I have not gone back to it. It is just mind blowing that the controls are that bad. Like the roll attack, or the roll movement, which is similar to like the Talon shot from Banjo-Kazooie, where this game you just roll on top of Yuka or whatever. The controls are horrible for that, and like, considering that's your primary mode of transportation, you can't fuck that up. And it also has a stamina meter for no fucking reason. So it's just like, man, I was so disappointed in that game, because I really, really wanted another good Banjo game, and I guess through this experience, I sort of realized that, you know what, maybe it's fine. Maybe it's fine that we never got another one of those, because like, I realized like I don't necessarily want a spiritual successor to Banjo. I want another real Banjo game, and we're never gonna get that.
Want Donkey Kong 64 too.
Oh my god.
Maybe that's what Rare is working on. Who knows?
You know,
oh my god.
A new collectathon platformer from the people who popularized collectathon platformers and also killed collectathon platformers.
And that's the thing. I love those types of games, and like, I was very much in denial while playing through the first hour or so. Like, you know, maybe it'll get better, maybe, and then it just doesn't.
I just know that when I saw that, like, the first look at that casino level, I just was like, oh no, this is not looking good.
That's like the really bad one, right?
It's terrible. Like, just from looking at it, it looks terrible. It looks so empty, and it's like every single collectible is like, just like, you walk to like a thing and it's like, oh, here's this thing that just stands out completely and looks really off.
Yeah, the worlds are kind of empty. Even the first one, which is the only one I played, but it's like it's close. It's close to being a decent Banjo game, except for the controls.
Isn't the
I guess the
camera
world
like
design
really
too,
bad
but-
too?
Yeah, the camera was horrible. They did fix that with a couple updates, supposedly.
Mhm.
I have not played it since the last update the game it got. Maybe, they did fix some of the control issues too. I know they did fix the camera. But, I don't know if I could go back to it after being burned that hard from the start.
Right. I mean, hey, but at least Shovel Knight's in it.
At least Shovel Knight is...
Oh.
At least Shovel Knight was a good Kickstarter game, one of the few, so...
That is another one that's really good, yeah.
Yeah.
Steve is the biggest Shovel Knight fan on the planet.
Collin is bigger.
I mean, just like in size, or
Maybe.
He's a big guy.
Collin,
Yeah, what do you want?
why don't you tell us what you played this year?
I didn't play anything this year. I didn't play a single video game.
That is a lie
Uh-huh.
because I gave you one for free.
wow,
Did
some
you want me
secret
to talk about
backdoor
that one?
No,
handshakes
you
are
can
going
you
on
can talk
here.
about whatever you want.
Okay.
Did you
Well,
give
we
us
might
a
talk
Peach
about
game?
that one later, but recently I got to play Prey.
Oh.
The
I don't think
Prey,
that came out this year.
Yeah,
No,
the
that
Prey 2017 reboot.
Wait,
That
did that come out this year?
yeah, it did. Yeah,
Well, I thought
That
it was a
came out-
2016 game.
That came out in May.
Oh
yeah.
my god.
It bombed. It
Yeah, I imagine
totally-
so.
Yeah, it completely bombed.
Was that a Bethesda game?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Bethesda, the master of fucking marketing for everything that isn't Skyrim.
So, Prey, as it turns out, is actually very good.
Oh, okay.
However, it is a game that, unless I control myself, will create a perfect storm of autism in which I optimize the fun right out of the game. Because the game gives you so many options to explore right out of the gate.
Hmm.
And like you can explore, gather resources, and craft, right?
Mm-hmm.
That I spent 7 hours in the game barely progressing, just trying to find hidden shit so that I could make sure that I was not hurting on resources and that I had multiple things that I could like learn how to craft. You can find these development kits that allow you to craft different resources or allow you to craft different tools, and I was trying to find as many of those as possible, and then also get enough materials to craft them. So that's been a lot of my Prey experience until I woke up and I was like, oh shit, I need to actually play the game. And that part's actually quite fun. You've got a lot of these different. You actually have a very nice progression system going on that doesn't feel tacked on at all. You can actually feel its effects on gameplay very tangibly. You can have completely different builds that change how you experience the game. Like you can go for an all alien build if you want that gives you all these crazy ass abilities like turning into objects and shit. Or you could just go full combat and have a completely different experience with the game, or go full stealth. It's actually quite a bit of fun. And the story's not even bad either. I enjoy the atmosphere of it quite a bit. And it's probably cheap as shit because it bombed. if any of you guys are interested in it. So fun stuff there. Let's see.
It is already like right now, not on sale. It is already at $40 on
$40. Okay, it was $20 and it was on sale. You could probably find it.
Right.
You probably can't find it physical $20. I'm willing to bet.
Right.
Physical
Yeah,
used.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
So my whole experience with Prey is watching Joseph Anderson talk about it.
I have not watched Joseph Anderson talk about Prey.
Wow. Why would you?
Isn't he the guy that doesn't believe that bad controls exist?
Yeah. I think more he like believes that you shouldn't talk about good controls. I think was his larger point, which was also stupid.
I know.
And I love when people just post his picture. It's very funny.
I know you guys really love listening to people talk for overrated
7
video
hours
games
about
for
Pokemon
7 hours.
Omega Ruby.
But
That was a good video. Fuck you.
the sheer just the sheer fact that guy fucking like just seeing his list of like how he ranks the Mario games and the fact that he was like, well, Mario Odyssey is a 6 out of 10 in my opinion. Like that's just like, yeah, I'm never gonna watch this guy's videos. Ever.
He railed on Breath of the Wild for not being Zelda enough.
Yeah.
Which is another like snapshot of who he is.
We want to.
I think you guys
Zelda
actually
keeps the
complained about that
change.
on the podcast where we
Why
talked
is
about
Zelda so different?
Wait, we talked about Zelda on the podcast?
Yeah,
We did.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, a
We
long
did.
time ago.
No way. When did this game come out?
March.
March?
March.
Yeah.
When the Switch came out.
Remember
Jesus.
March?
No.
Was there
I
anything
guess
you
we're
wanna
not
say
talking about
Prey,
it today
Colin?
then.
I won't rail on. I mean, I won't rail on the guy. I think he offers some substantial fuel for a dialogue. Even if I think that his initial reactions to games are overly emotional, and and then he always downplays it by saying, "I'm sorry, I'm coming off as so negative." That's like in every single Joseph Anderson video.
It is.
But I don't think, I don't think that what he offers as like as a content provider, is that the term I got to use? That's like the blandest, most general term.
You could call him an influencer. That's even worse.
I don't think that what he offers is like poor quality or just outright negative. Or
No, it's not. But like anybody, I guess he's just got shitty opinions about some things.
It is wrong though.
Everything he's ever said is wrong.
I mean, I'll fully admit I do. I mean, you guys have witnessed it. I do kind of have some similar reactions to games where like I'll get stuck on one or two things. And then
Really? We never noticed that over the years.
No, not at all.
Could he
and I'll
be
get really
our
emotional
guy?
about it. And then like later on I'll be like, yeah, that game was really good. I know I was
Just
like that.
Never live stream for V.
Pretty
while
much
having
every
Facecam up.
pretty much every Metal Gear Solid game had that kind of reaction from me at some point. Like I remember the fucking Metal Gear Ray fight in MGS2 where you had to fight like 7 of them in a row. Like that pissed me off for a second because I like was being stupid, and then I actually did it, and I was like, oh, I'm stupid, and that was actually really easy.
I think everyone has moments like that.
Yeah,
It happens.
I do more. I do more often though.
Before we move on, may I contextualize the depth of my autism to all of you?
Please do.
My Prey autism.
You've come to the right place.
Okay, all right. So in Prey, there are these items that you can throw at things that you can't carry. Now, when you carry something, you can put it into a recycler, right? And your recycler will then turn that into materials that you can then use to craft things. But you can't put anything in your inventory. There are things that you can only carry around, right? And if you carry something around, you can't just put that into the recycler because you can't put it in your inventory to begin with. But there's an item that you can throw. It's a grenade that will just suck in a bunch of stuff near it and then immediately turn all that stuff into materials. And it will turn basically anything in the game that you can pick up into material. And so one of the material types is organic. And if you're ever hurting for organic material, Like the normal way to do it is to find food, right? Bananas or flowers and stuff like that. But all throughout the game, there are dead bodies strewn about that you can loot. But of course, you can't put a dead body in your inventory, but you can carry a dead body around. So here's me wandering around a big open area for like 40 minutes, dragging around dead bodies slowly and putting them all in a pile so I can throw a magic grenade on them that will turn them into materials so I can craft shit.
Oh my god.
So anyway,
Collin has more fun with games than any of us ever will.
He's living on a higher plane of existence. Omega.
Hello.
Haven't called on you yet. Why don't you tell us what you like this year?
So I want to talk about a game. This is a game that consumed me. It consumed my soul. It made
It's Night Trap.
It made me question who I am as a person. It made me question reality.
God.
It's not some big epic exploration game that cost trillions of dollars to make. It's also not some super in-depth RPG that you get super invested in the storyline and the characters. The game I'm talking about is Cuphead.
Oh no.
So this game was, I think, first kind of revealed in a split-second montage at the Xbox E3 conference, I don't know, 3 years ago.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I remember exactly what you're talking about. It was a while ago.
Yeah, and then a trailer would come out maybe once a year, and it's what is this game? When's it coming out? And it didn't. It just came out earlier this year in September.
They delayed it a bunch of times.
Yes, it's been delayed. I think the original release date was 2015, and now we're in 2017. So it's been a crazy journey. So this game, it's a Mega Man / Contra style shooter / boss rush, and the hook of the game is that the aesthetic is completely based on 1930s cartoons, but it's even more niche than that because it's not so much like Disney or Warner Brothers cartoons. It's these Max Fleischer cartoon style, which is the studio that did Betty Boop, Popeye, and the Superman cartoons. Now for me, I'll just say this: I kind of hate Mega Man. I never grew up with Contra. Mega Man games I just never got into and kind of just despised just how unforgiving and insanely difficult they were. But yet I'm a real Western animation nerd, so I really love just how insanely detailed or specific that references they were making with this animation style. So I was really intrigued by the game. And so I got it, and instantly I think I started it at maybe 6 or 7 p.m. at night, and next thing I knew it was 3 a.m, and my body was completely drenched in sweat. This game picked me up, turned me upside down, and just fucked me. 69 style. It is so intensely I found it addicting. You go from your character, you're like a Mega Man character. It's pretty much you have a Mega Man type gun, and each kind of level is just basically a boss fight, and each boss is insanely difficult. I mean, there are difficulty settings. There's a casual setting, but then there's a normal setting, which is the normal / hard setting. Each boss is no more longer than maybe 2 minutes or so, but it took me at least maybe 20 times to get the hang of a boss. And once you die, it's not like those old Mega Man or Contra games where you have to start the whole level again. It just puts you right back in the middle of the boss fight, or at the start of the boss fight, I should say, which really makes the game really, really replayable and really fun to play. The music itself is amazing. It's very much in tune with the, 1930s big band jazz themed. Yeah, so I mean, I don't usually like quote unquote hard games, like I was saying with those Mega Man and Contra games, but this is the first one in a long time that's really I've really gone to complete. I haven't finished expert mode, but I have almost finished. I just have maybe a few more different 2 more bosses to complete. Another thing about this game, why it maybe took so long to come out, is that all of the animations were done in traditional 2D animation style, where literally pencil and paper, and everything except for I think the coloring that was digital, but everything else was just handmade. Even the music itself was recorded live with an actual, band. So, yeah, big Cuphead, band, a big band, one would say for you. But yeah, Cuphead, I loved, and I can't recommend more to anyone who hasn't played it yet. I think it's maybe only $20, which is a real steal, because this is to me a full-fledged game. I mean, it may not be, seemingly as long. There's only maybe 3 world and maybe 16 or so bosses, but it will take you, I think, as long as any other, modern game.
So let me ask you something as someone who's not played this game.
Okay.
So this game, one of the reasons why it was delayed is because people were complained that it was just a boss rush game. So they went apparently and added more elements to the game to make it a bit more fleshed out. So is the stuff you're doing outside of boss battles compelling, or is that just filling time?
No, it's compelling. There's also every once in a while there's these run and gun levels, which is literally just the Contra element of the game, I should say. And those in itself are also just as difficult and just as fun. Obviously, I think the boss fights are the best part of the game, and obviously they're the main part. But these these other little run and gun levels, there's maybe I'd say 5 or 4, but they're also just as worthy.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
And I don't mean this as a joke, and I mean this with all sincerity. Would you recommend this game to somebody who's just bad at video games?
Yes.
Because it seems like a very challenging game.
I will say that I am bad at video games. Earlier this year, I was playing, just to get an idea of how bad I am at video games. I was playing Zelda Breath of the Wild, and I flew all the way to this little tiny island in the middle of the water. And I was like, man, how am I going to get across this ocean? So I used my ice powers to create an ice bridge.
The same thing?
Very methodically. It took me almost half an hour to get across the ocean just using these little ice little steps I would make. And then later, I think it was not on the Sonic board, someone told me why didn't you just teleport? Oh. So yes, I stink at video games in general, especially old school NES games. I really am bad at those, but this game really pushed me, and it's very weirdly rewarding. The thrill and the excitement and the adrenaline I get when you beat a boss is beyond any feeling I've felt in a video game.
Does it feel more satisfying than when you finish quoting a podcast?
Oh, so much so. This game, I mean, this game's great. That's what I'm here to say.
Would you say it's the Dark Souls of 2D platformers?
Whew. No.
That would be Salt and Sanctuary, Matt.
And Hollow Knight.
Cuphead, everything about it, I love, and it's really, really great game. Everyone should at least try out.
I guess I can technically chime in since I did play it a little bit.
Oh,
didn't you get mad?
I did, but I mean, I thought
you will get mad at this game. You will want to quit, which I was close to, but I kept through it, and it was very much worth it.
I did. I bought this game kind of on a whim. on Steam. I played it for I think about an hour, and then later just refunded it because so I played it for an hour and I got through up to like I think I got to the second world and I tried a couple bosses there. And I guess partly in my defense, I did play it when I was like on maybe 4 hours of sleep.
That'll do it.
So it's not exactly like I was in the right shape to play a game like that.
You have to be 100% physically fit and alert and completely healthy to play this game. If
Then I
you
can never
are
play it.
if you are pregnant or you have like heart conditions or going through like serious medication, do not play this game. That's it. That should come with like a health warning or something.
Yeah. And I guess the thing is that's the thing is I don't really like games like Mega Man or Contra or anything like that at all either. I never liked those games. Like I've tried Mega Man 1, Mega Man 2.
Yep.
I think I also like played a little bit of like Mega Man 8, Mega Man X. I tried all a ton of Mega Man games and I've just never really gotten into any of them. I never found them very fun or exciting or anything. They just all kind of bore me. In this game, like I will say this game is really fun to watch. Watching people play this game is great. And also just watching the animation and everything in this game is great. All the little details they have in the animation, like you can tell they really loved making this game and put a lot of love into it. It's good. Like the controls are great. Everything is super tight. Everything just flows and meshes very well. It's just really fucking hard. And I'm the kind of person where like everybody like that's the thing. Like Omega, like you mentioned how it's like, oh, it feels good when you finally beat that boss.
Yes.
I never have gotten that from any kind of game like this. Like for example, Dark Souls. Like I hate to do that. I hate to make that comparison.
Son of a gun.
But that's a game that has the same thing going on where it's like, oh man, it's so tough. And you'll get stuck for a while, but once you finally get that boss, you'll feel so good. Every time I played a game that's like that.
Beating a boss in Cuphead is like traveling back in time and like punching Hitler in the face and preventing the Holocaust. Like that's how triumphant this game will make you feel.
Yeah, I guess that's a problem is that for whatever reason, I'm just the kind of person who never really gets that feeling from a game like that.
I guess you're just dead inside or something.
Maybe.
No, yeah, Matt travels back in time, punches Hitler in the face, and he's like, what if this leads to something worse?
No, Matt punches Hitler in the face and then proceeds to like carry on.
No, I feel like I punched Hitler in the face, and then I realized, oh no, what have I done? But
No, Matt punches Hitler in the face but misses and complains about Hitler's hitbox.
Laser.
okay,
Whoa!
Steve wins this podcast.
Yeah, there it is. No one's topping that.
But yeah,
This game, like Mario Odyssey, rewards you for being smart. It rewards you for your intelligence because there are multiple ways to like beat a boss, or there's multiple strategies, but there's always like really one good way, or quote unquote the best way to beat a boss. And if you're smart enough, if you're quick enough to catch on and figure it out, you can get through the boss very quickly. So I feel like the creators of the game were very attuned with the speedrun community. And I've heard them talking about it, and like there's multiple ways to really get through this game quick into speedrunning. I think that's I just really love it when a game respects the player's intelligence, and I don't like it when it disrespects the player's intelligence, like I don't know, certain other games with like blue hedgehogs.
Well, to be fair, you have to have a very high IQ to understand Cuphead.
Yes, it's like
The
meme
gameplay
with,
is extremely complicated, and without a solid grasp on theoretical physics, most of the mechanics will go over the typical player's head.
You kind of do. This game is also weirdly physics based because there's like a big portion of the gameplay of the game is there's like there there are these what you call these little
Cups.
no, sorry,
Okay.
just
Mugs.
no
Are you talking about like the pink
yes
Never
I-
mind.
things?
yeah it's
The
like
counter,
you get like
the counter attack mechanic.
yes these you have like this special boost
Oh,
so to
the
speak.
parry. That's
Yeah,
the
the
word.
parry, and there's like in each boss fight, they have an attack or there's an item that is highlighted this neon pink color, and you have to. There's a parry button. You have to hit the item at the exact moment to get the parry to work and to help boost up your special. Sometimes the parry does not work the way you think it's going to work, so you have to hit it just right to get it to work. So there's a lot of precision in the game too.
Sounds like a winner.
I guess also to answer your question, Steve. The game is still basically a boss rush,
I imagine so.
but it does have like little running gun levels, which they're not bad, but from what I've everybody,
It's not what you're there for.
the general opinion is they're the worst part of the game, or at least they're the weakest part of the game.
I mean,
should
there's
say.
like there's two parts of the game: the bosses and the running gun levels, and
Yeah.
the lesser part of the game. So
I will say I was kind of surprised to see that it had like an actual overworld, like a Mario 3-esque overworld, which is actually kind of nice and cute. Yeah, like it's good. It's just not. It's just not my style.
Cup
I
of
guess.
tea.
Ah, okay.
I hate you guys.
Hang in there, Funk.
It's time to die.
That's right. Is that it on Cuphead?
yeah, that's all I gotta say.
All right. Well, then let me tell you kids about another very small game made with a lot of love
Breath of the Wild.
called Horizon Zero Dawn.
Oh god.
And that statement may not be accurate by the time I'm done talking about this.
Hmm?
Steve
I think I'm
loves
the only one
AAA big budget PS4 games.
I think I'm the only one who played that game here, right?
Yeah, I didn't
yeah.
play it.
I did not.
Kenny played it, but he's not here, so.
Oh, R.I.P.
Oh.
So I don't normally like Western RPGs.
This game's
And
an
after-
RPG?
Yeah. It
Jesus
actually
Christ.
surprised me how much of an RPG it was. And through playing it, I can't say I didn't enjoy myself because it was a fun game overall. But I kind of have to hold my nose when complimenting this game because there is a lot that kind of pisses me off about it. One thing that really held me back from enjoying it more is that I played this game after Breath of the Wild, and you can really see some of the faults of this game compared to Zelda. One is that this game very much needed the climbing mechanics of Breath of the Wild, because it's a very mountainous game, and there's a lot of objectives that are like placed on top of the sides of these mountains. And the only way to get to them is to search around until you find like the very specific climbing handholds it wants you to use, or else you just kind of jimmy yourself up the side of a cliff in a game in a way that the game does not intend you to do, to kind of cheat your way to it. And the whole time I was playing it, I was like, please, why can't I just climb to get there? You're making this 10 times more frustrating than it needs to be. The other is that because it's an open world game, it unfortunately follows the problems of many open world games where you climb this tower and then you unlock the map and you're instantly inundated with like 100 little things on your map that it wants you to go and do. And you compare that to a game like Breath of the Wild, which I think is one of the first games that really gets the open world formula right. Where in that game, it's all about, you unlock sections of the map, but it doesn't tell you where anything is. You have to go and explore and find things. And that is so much more satisfying than this game, which is just another like, let me just check mark these lists of things I need to do in the game. And I did everything in the game. Like, I got the platinum trophy, which I think speaks to more of how solid, but not great, but it is solid in the way it plays. Like, fighting the robot dinosaurs is actually pretty fun. The enemies in this game are fairly diverse. They have quite a number of ways you can approach each battle. And so the first time you encounter any kind of these machines in the game, it is kind of interesting to figure out, how am I supposed to beat this machine? What tools can I use to approach this? It does kind of falter a bit in the way that you have to force yourself to use a lot of the game's tools, because as you get further in the game and you get the most powerful weapons, you sort of fall into this pattern of, well, I could set up this elaborate trap and then herd the machine into it, or I can just like spam it with explosives and kill it that way. So I wish the game did incentivize you more to use its tool set, but there is at least a lot of variety if you're willing to force yourself to do it. I think the game's biggest strength by far is in how it crafts this world. Like, it is a absolutely gorgeous game. If you're willing to overlook like the very terrible character designs and horrible facial animation, like, the rest of the game is like one of the best looking games that has ever been made. It is a very like fully realized world that they have crafted here, and the central narrative of discovering what happened in the past in this post-apocalyptic society, like, that narrative is multi-layered and interesting, and it's the thing that easily carries you throughout the entire game. Like, I was never bored about finding out the secrets to that game, even if a lot of the revelations are kind of fucking stupid, and you can easily poke holes in them. But I still really enjoyed figuring out the story to that game. And what I mean when I say I have to hold my nose is, I'm complimenting the game's story, but the story is also actually really fucking poorly written. Like, all of the side quests in this game, aside from a few, are just pointless. Like, there's very little reason to do them other than if you're like me and just want to be a completionist. Like, they're not very compelling. The warring tribal factions of this game's setting are not very compelling. And I don't want to be too political here. But you kind of can't ignore that this game was written with a bit of an agenda, even if it's not like super in your face about it. But just the way it writes its characters very much paints the female characters, almost all of them universally, in a much more saintly light compared to the male characters, who are by the book like very savage and oafish, and they don't want to listen to your opinion because you're a woman. Like, it has that kind of slant to it that gets old after a while. Especially because, like, there's very much a contrast between your society, your tribe, which is a matriarchal society, and the other big tribe, which is very much the opposite. So that narrative permeates too much of the game for my liking. Like, every villain in the game is a male character. There are no female villains in this game, and what you come to find out is, like, a lot of the characters in this game are kind of copy-pasted over and over again. So if you meet one type of character, you're probably going to meet that type of character again 10 more times. So it was just, everything about what was going on in the present of that game could have been written way better. Like, you can just tell how stretched they were to fill the content in terms of what was happening in the present day. But I do think, the game is fun enough in how it approaches its combat, aside from, like, the melee combat, which is really bad. Fighting the dinosaurs and the other robot animals are always kind of fun. But that compared with, trying to find out the mystery of what happened to this world is, I think, enough of a justification to give this game a try. But it is really, really disappointing that it doesn't, it has such a cool ass setting that it doesn't live up to that more in terms of, like, the day-to-day stuff that is going on to that game. Like, Aloy herself, the main character, is decent enough, but she just has like nothing to play off of. There are too many like quests in the game that end with just like someone telling you their dying words as they pass away in her arms. Like, that happens like 5 or 6 different times. There's just too much content in this game that is just clearly just copy pasted. So, for a studio that was making this kind of game, like, this is the studio that made I think they were like Killzone games. This is their first attempt at something like this, and it is a pretty noble attempt. I just wish it was not written the way it was written, and I think that's just my biggest complaint with the game. Like, it didn't have to be written this way. Like, you could have done so much more with this setting than just try to lob these same kind of ideas and characters at me over and over again. So that's pretty much Horizon Zero Dawn. I would give it a very, very soft recommendation at like a low price. But it is just inferior to a game like Zelda, which does so many things this game wants to do, but that game just does it so much better. And I probably would have enjoyed it more, in all honesty, if I played it before Zelda, but like, those comparisons are inescapable, because they released like a week, apart from one another, and they're just so similar in what they're trying to do.
Steve, can I ask you something?
You sure can.
Does the title of the game mean anything?
Yes, it absolutely does.
Okay. It's because it sounded like just a mishmash of words that just sound like the title of a video game.
Yeah.
Rather than actually meaning anything.
It is kind of a nonsense title, but the title is given context in the game. But the dumb thing about that is, like, the title, like, the official name of the game is not Horizon: Zero Dawn. It's Horizon Zero Dawn. So any other game in the series is probably be called Horizon Zero Dawn 2, or something like that. Even though Zero Dawn is like very much a specific thing that happens in this plot, and it's not, once you discover it, like, it's not going to be relevant to anything that would happen in future sequels.
Is that like the? I have no idea. Never mind. I was about to ask what it is, but I don't care. I
mean, I can spoil some aspects of this game if you guys want me to, and talk about how stupid they are. It's up to you.
I mean, if you think it'd be entertaining.
Yeah, I don't really plan on playing this game. No. So
I think anybody.
Collin, Matt, do you care if I spoil something about this game?
I could not care less.
Man, I don't care about anything.
Okay, so let me tell you how the robot apocalypse in this game is fucking retarded.
Okay. Ooh, the Robocalypse.
Yeah, it's probably the weakest aspect of this entire game, because it's also frustrating because the explanation that they give is actually fairly novel and unique, but you can just poke so much holes in it. So the reason for the apocalypse in this game is that in the 2060s, some tech billionaire supplied the military with autonomous robots that had 4 very specific things that all went wrong and contributed to these robots killing all life on Earth entirely. So these robots were designed, 1, to self-replicate, which is already a bad idea. 2, the robots can run on biological material, like they actually consume biological material for fuel, and you can already sort of see where this is going. 3, the robots were programmed with no back door, so they cannot be shut down remotely. And the robots' programming was so complex that the game tells you that it would take 100 years to crack the code in order to shut down the robots. So you can imagine what would happen when these robots get hit with a glitch and then start killing everything. And the end result is that they consume all biological material on Earth in like the span of 15 months. And that's my biggest problem here, is that, typically in these kind of post-apocalyptic stories, there's like a message or a warning, like, don't fuck with these certain things or else bad shit could happen that can ruin human civilization. But when you break down the reasons for this happening, it's like no one would ever program a robot in such a way that all four of these things would happen. Because what else was going to possibly happen? Like, it was inevitable that something was going to go wrong and that they would destroy the world. Like, anyone could look at that and see the outcome immediately. So it takes a real suspension of disbelief to believe that this scenario could ever possibly happen. But it does. And fortunately, the game is at least multi-layered in doling out the mysteries. That is only like half of the story. The other half is the explanation of how they are able to restore Earth after the apocalypse happens. And that's genuinely interesting and also very unique in terms of science fiction. Like, a lot of the ideas there are not things I have seen in other places, which I give the game a lot of credit for. But it is just a game that I think whoever was writing it thought it would be a lot smarter than it really was. It's just too easy to poke holes at how dumb this is. It is dumb sci-fi at the end of it, which is a little disappointing because I did actually expect a bit more, but it is what it is. That's my kind of rant at this game's story.
They consume biological. Do they eat people?
Yes, like they.
Oh God!
Every living thing on Earth is eaten by the robots in 15 months.
Even the chili dogs?
Yes.
Chili dogs aren't alive.
They're biological.
Barely.
But I will say that
more machine than man.
Like, this is one of the few games where I actually enjoyed listening to like the audio recordings. Like in most games, that's just cheap storytelling. But like when you're going through like the ruins of the old world and discovering these audio tapes, like, man, listening to some of that content is like genuinely chilling. Because it is very fleshed out in the game's backstory in terms of in terms of like describing what happened. So I found all that interesting, even if a lot of the answers, like I said, are kind of dumb. There was never a point where I was like uninterested in finding out more. So that is Horizon Zero Dawn.
Not to be confused with Horizon Zero Dawn.
No. So with that, I think we'll take another break, and we'll be right back to discuss more video games.
Oh boy.
Welcome back once again to the Sonic Board podcast. I believe Collin wanted to go next.
Oh, I guess I'm up.
Collin, you're going next.
Okay. Well, Steve was very kind to give me this oddball game called Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle.
Wait, you bought that for Collin?
No, he
God.
bought it for himself, and then he sent it my way.
I knew Collin wanted to play it, but he didn't really want to justify spending it. So I did everything I wanted to do in the game, so I didn't mind passing it along.
Yes, because that's what great friends do, you know? They pass their games along. They don't give excuses like, no, Collin, I actually got this digital. Like Funk does when I say, hey, maybe Final Fantasy 15 someday. And he's like, no, Collin, it's actually a digital download.
Collin, did you know that I own the disc for Final Fantasy 15 and have always owned the disc?
What? You told me it was a digital download.
I did not.
So wait, you actually were lying to me.
I brought it with me. I have the disc within 2 feet of me right now.
Oh my god. I'm sure it's actually completely mediocre.
I've played it. I've played it for 20 minutes, and I've had it since last Christmas.
Jesus Christ.
And I've had The Last Guardian next to it, which I played for 0 minutes.
Oh my gosh. So, this this little game that could.
A game that's way better than it has any right to be.
Absolutely. The game is teeming with personality, which is especially weird because you are relegated to grass, desert, cold, spooky, fire. Just like the standard set.
And
course,
even then, like the combination desert ice thing has been done many times.
Yeah, and desert and ice come in the same world. But see, when you're going through the world, one of my favorite parts of this game was actually just walking around through the world because it feels like a theme park. You ever see just like weird shit going on in a theme park? It's like that. With all like you get to like just look at the rabbits doing weird shenanigans, and the rabbits weren't even. I was expecting to be annoyed by them for the entire game.
They toned the rabbits down, I feel.
I don't know if they were toned down because I'm not really familiar with them.
Well, it's like the way they act in that opening cutscene is how they typically act, but in the rest of the game, it's much more subdued.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And apparently this is 100% canonical to the Rabbids universe.
For people who are, paying close attention.
Yes, as the washing machine that the Rabbids travel in is direct reference to the Rabbids continuity.
Where does this game fall in the Rabbids universe timeline?
I think this is actually the conclusion. They're just part of Mario now.
Is this in the Hero Rins era, or is this in the?
This is in the Rayman Falls to the Wayside timeline.
Oh no.
So the good timeline.
Oh no.
So it's kind of interesting to think about that this is the Rabbids' big comeback, because these things have been basically MIA for 5 years now. I don't think they have like a real they were big for like maybe a 2-year period.
They had like a game on the Wii U, and like that was the last major one.
Yeah. So they've actually dwindled in popularity quite a bit, which makes it all the more surprising that this game was greenlit. But they ended up making something pretty good out of it. Of course, you are restricted a little bit in the game by being forced to use Mario, but Mario is thankfully one of the most versatile guy in the game.
Also, Collin just loves Mario, so.
See, after Odyssey, you guys now completely understand why I picked Mario and all the spin-offs, though, right? You're like, oh wow, oh yeah, we love that Mario guy, right? You're all with me now.
No, fuck you.
Bing bing wahoo.
Next time we play Mario Kart, it's gonna be Mario, Tanuki Mario, Metal Mario, and Baby Mario, right?
And Pink Gold Mario.
And Pink Gold Mario.
And Luigi in the cat car. Waluigi.
So the best part of this game, Mario plus Rabbids, is the challenge maps that you can tackle immediately after completing a world. You'll have 10 challenges and then one kind of secret secret world challenge that might be 1 or 2 challenges. And these are the ones where they really get to spice things up with different enemy placements or different objectives that can be pretty tough if you tackle them immediately after completing the world. This is something Steve never did, and he missed out on the absolute best content in this game. I would also like to note that Steve also relied on Rabbid Peach the entire game, which is basically like playing with training wheels the whole time.
She's the only good rabbit, though.
That's not true at all. It's completely untrue.
But she's Rabbid Peach.
Rabbid Mario and Rabbid Luigi absolutely kick ass in this game, and I probably use them the most out of all my units.
But like, I didn't play characters because they were good. I played characters that I liked.
You played characters that were safe. You can get out of here. You didn't live in the fast lane with Mario plus Rabbids, okay? It's a high risk, high reward game. where you can complete tasks in like 2 turns if you only know how to use Rabid Mario. That's it.
I never used Rabid Mario.
You never used Rabid Mario?
Not once, no.
Oh my
because
gosh.
I figured he was too close to normal Mario.
He's literally perfect. He has the boom shot, and he has the boom dash. He has this ability that lets you chain your dash attack to explode and hit people around him. So he's literally perfect to take down those smasher units that will always chase after you, right? But he can hit them with like residual damage for his dash because they don't chase you for the dash. It's the best. And being able to just hop back in and redo these challenges anytime and just do them perfectly feels so good. I'm so glad this game was made because I'd be psyched for a sequel. I want more characters to be playable. I want to also not be restricted to the must-use 1 Mario and 1 Rabid rule.
Yeah, but you know why they put that in there.
Yeah, I know. It's just that, I wish that I didn't have to use Mario, right? And I wish I didn't have to use a Rabbit if I didn't want to. That's not to say I didn't like the Rabbits. I actually quite enjoyed them. It's just that
It's just that you didn't like the Marios.
No, I liked the Marios too.
As a long-standing fan of the Rabid franchise, you bought the next line of their games. You just wish that it wasn't contaminated with all these Marios running around.
I just wish I had the option, because, variety, nice. I just wish I had the options to go.
I'm going to have variety by choosing all of one thing.
All Mario or all Rabbids.
So Collin, I have a question for you.
Yeah, sure.
At any point did you figure out the identity of the person who was sending the message before the game told you?
Was it Bowser?
Future Beepo?
Yes.
Oh no.
Sorry, spoilers, everyone. No, I actually didn't. I don't think I did. I don't think I thought about it.
I liked that when I got to the end of the game. I found that out.
I don't think I thought about that too hard, actually.
Like, it makes sense, but it's also a stupid fucking time loop that can't be resolved.
So wait, since this game has time travel mechanics, can I ask if it handles time travel better or worse than the Love Live movie?
Probably better. Probably better.
I mean, it's just a standard loop. It's a closed loop timeline.
Oh, he knows all the jargon.
It's not. Listen, you can
Collin,
infer what a closed loop is.
Where do the weapons come from, Collin?
Oh my god. How do they not?
Where do the weapons come from?
How do they not progressively degrade each time the loop occurs?
Mario
is this like an Endless 8 kind of loop?
No.
Why does she sit like that?
And you could just call that a Groundhog Day loop.
Funk has never seen Groundhog Day.
He's right. He's right.
Bill Murray did it before Haruhi did,
What a weird podcast.
He did.
Bill Murray was in Ghostbusters the video game.
How many Endless 8 loops did one of the characters attempt to kill themselves?
Oh,
that's what
God.
I want to know.
Well, given the endless nature of it, one could say an infinitely high number of times. That's just how infinite works, man.
I suppose
It's a very deep show when you think about the cute big-breasted girl just trying to kill herself an endless amount of times. And you know what?
Technically, it would probably be the most likely contender for suicide. Would probably be the one who knows what's happening at all times.
Are we still talking about rabbits?
No, even then, given the nature of infinite, Matt, it's possible that even though she would have no reason to, she would still try to kill herself an infinite amount of times, and because it's infinite, she would succeed an infinite amount of times, and also try to kill herself an infinitely diverse amount of times via different methods, and succeed and fail an equally infinite amount of times. So any way you could think of killing yourself that a Japanese high schooler has available to her, she would have tried and both failed and succeeded at in infinitely varying amount of grotesque ways. Like if you try to hang yourself and your neck snaps and you die pretty easily, or if you try to hang yourself and you're left hanging for 3 minutes, gasping for air in a very brutal way, or if like you jump in front of a train and it kills you on impact, or it like clips you so you're left lying on the tracks like all bloodied up and bleeding out but still alive. So the point I'm trying to make here is that
It's turned the number of suicides from 0 into 1.
So Steve, to conclude, Peach or Rabid Peach?
Peach.
But how close is it?
Shifty eyes. No, I'm at least glad the Mario Rabbids were not obnoxious.
Yes.
Like it came around and ended up being a little bit charming.
Yeah.
Even Luigi dabbing.
Even Luigi dabbing. Yes.
There's literally
Yeah,
nothing
well,
wrong with Luigi dabbing. Of all the characters in the Mario universe who could possibly dab,
Well, one would
Luigi
be
is the
Waluigi,
well, Waluigi would probably be the most likely Mario character
which
to
Collin.
actually unironically dab.
How
but-
great was that moment? You know the one I'm talking about.
Waluigi dabbed?
No, when you fight those two enemies.
Oh
Oh.
my gosh, yeah. That was actually pretty damn funny. And they run away.
And you
Which
can
means
tell this game was not developed by Nintendo because they actually used those characters.
Yes.
Which is what I liked about it, because it's like, in a way, this is just fans of Nintendo making a Mario game, so them doing things that Nintendo would not do, and it was just very refreshing in that way. Like the whole stuff about Bowser Jr. and his daddy issues.
Yes.
Like that was
absolutely.
fantastic.
Yeah, and I think we can now kind of take this Miyamoto is responsible for everything wrong with Paper Mario argument. We could throw that in the trash, because if he approved Mario plus Rabbids, we could basically assume that the Paper Mario team was not feeling very ambitious after hearing Miyamoto's suggestions.
I
Like-
think what I read about that, I think, is that they basically took what Miyamoto said way too literally, and like he was like, "Oh, I don't want you guys to like just do Thousand Year Door again. Like come up with something a little bit more different." So they're just like, "All right, let's just throw out everything about Paper Mario that makes these games good, and let's just make this pile of shit." There you go. Enjoy, Miyamoto. And then let's do it a second time, because why the fuck not?
All that matters is that it triggered Frank, and it gave us some hilarious moments, because Frank is so invested in this game that he takes Paper Mario as a part of his identity.
Truly,
Just
he
like-
is flat.
Oh my god. I was kind of angered by Sticker Star myself, although probably not to the same extent that Frank was.
Well,
I mean,
Did
Wash-
that come out this year or last year?
Which
last
one?
year.
Sticker.
Color Splash.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah,
last year.
Color Splash was last year, which I heard was actually better, but it's still not good.
I mean, Breath of the Wild will go down as the last Nintendo Wii U game, and no, it's a good place to end it.
Wait, what
Yeah.
about Cars 3?
Last Nintendo Wii U game.
What about Meme Run?
Did that come back?
No.
That's never coming back, and the world is worse for it.
Didn't Kenny actually buy that game?
And he
No,
bought
he
it.
played it at like a party or something.
And he spoke fondly of it. He was like, "Meme Run, yeah, I know that game. We played it at the party."
What a swell guy he is.
Oh my god.
Have we told Kenny he's a normie yet?
I think he knows. I mean, he's really not, though. Like, he can pass for one, but he's clearly not.
It's like, yeah, he owns Love Live figures, but at the same time, it's like, god damn, man.
So Colin,
Oh my god.
did Did you know that the XCOM? You've probably already heard about this, but the XCOM team actually complimented Mario plus Rabbids, saying like that they really enjoyed it. Like that, like there's like they had this big Twitter post where they had like their team like basically playing the game on like a big screen or something, which is pretty great because the game is literally like Mario XCOM.
Yeah, yeah, and I saw the interview with the XCOM guy talking about it as well, which was also a neat watch. I got a note the 50% thing. That's totally fine by me. Like you always know how calculated your risk is.
Yeah.
with either 50%, 0%, or 100. Well, the 50% thing is that if you ever see a picture of like a brown guy with beady eyes and like huge lips, and you just see like 56% there, that's actually a racism meme.
What?
But the 50% meme is when in Mario Rabbids, if a enemy is behind cover that's low to the ground,
Half
you have,
cover, as they call it.
yeah, you have 50% odds of hitting them. If they're behind tall cover, then you have 0% odds. And if they are just out in the open, you got 100%. Or if you're flanking them, you got 100%. So there's never any chance, where you're aiming at someone point blank and it says 96% odds to hit.
Oh, okay. Yes.
And then you miss.
The best example of that is there's an image from XCOM where it just shows like one of the like dude bro soldiers literally point blank range, like the guns, his guns fucking like I don't know what you call it, nozzle, whatever, wherever the bullet shoots from.
Arrow?
Yeah, like it's literally like almost clipping through the enemy, and then it just says at the bottom, 65% chance to hit. You don't get that in this game, thankfully.
No, it's a good game.
Oh my god,
It's a good game.
it is a good.
It was good games.
So, I kind of want to talk about one of the most conflicted games I have ever played in a long time.
Oh boy.
Oh no.
What could this be?
It's Nier Automata.
Oh
Nier Auto Tomato.
Has anyone else played this game?
I
No.
played the first couple hours of it.
Okay, I won't spoil this game.
I mean, I already spoiled it for myself.
I know, but in
kind
case
of.
anyone else wants to play it, and even then, it's like it's not a game you should really
read
spoil.
the spoilers.
I don't really care that much about spoilers for like the story of a fucking video game.
Whoa.
Whoa! Don't you
Like,
know video
I-
games are art, Matt?
Oh my god. Especially Yoko Taro games. You see, they're intentionally designed to be pure fucking shit.
Oh my god! I read a comment the other day that was like, the shallow combat is part of the experience of this game, and I just wanted to fucking lose it. Because,
Oh my
okay,
God.
that is the first thing I want to touch about this game, because I was very disappointed with it. And I think I wouldn't have been as much if I had played the game in a vacuum. Because part of it is that I played the game in a week, which I don't think is the ideal way to play this game. Like, I bought it a week ago and I wanted to finish it for the podcast, so I kind of marathoned it, and I think that does a bit of a disservice to the game, but there's also some problems with that I'll talk about later. The other thing is, this game has a very annoying fan base that has built up a cult about it, and about what this game is and how good it is, and I was a bit taken in by that, because there's just so much talk about this being the best game of the year. And in fact, I saw a conversation on Twitter not that long ago that is the perfect example of this, where someone was saying, Mario Odyssey may be fun, but Nier's the game of the year because it's important, and it's like, fuck off. Like,
you.
that is the way people talk about this game, and it's a problem for a couple of reasons. One is that the first thing I was initially disappointed by is the combat. It is disappointingly shallow, and that's what I posted in the CT. It is not a very fun game to play. At best, it's just kind of brain dead, and then the only time the game really challenges you is by throwing a ton of enemies at you at once, or just spamming like orbs across the screen. Like, it is just a couple buttons, and you have like a special attack on your pod, and that's kind of it. There's just no thought here, and that just makes me ask the question: why do you get Platinum Games to develop your game if you're not going to have them put in a decent combat system? This game has all the style and flash of a Platinum game, but none of the gameplay.
I think part of that is due to the fact that despite the fact that it is a Platinum Games game, it is still directed by
Yoko Taro?
Yoko Taro. And he's very beloved, as you probably have experienced, but at the same time, he's kind of just terrible at directing games, at least like the game aspect of games, because like Steve, you mentioned about how like this game has a very big following. I'm not sure if it's this game specifically as much as it is just fans of Yoko Taro.
Yes, but this game also blew up in a way bigger way than any of his other games have.
That is true. This is definitely his most popular game, probably because it's the only one that resembles something playable. Yeah. Because the other games he's made are Drakengard, which, like, the Drakengard series is honestly just a really bad video game series that's mostly known for its just completely crazy off the wall stories, such as having a character who is literally like a sociopathic murderous killer, having a character who I think like is like a legitimate pedophile as like one of the main protagonists, and like stuff like that.
Interesting choice.
Mm-hmm. There's like and the predecessor to Nier Automata, Nier, that game had here's another example. That game has a legitimate hermaphrodite character. It is a girl who, like, due to like magical bullshit, like is like cursed with a dick or something. I don't know. It's weird. These games are fucking really weird.
Yeah, and it's playing through this whole game, I can certainly understand what people see in it. And I honestly hate to criticize it because it is a game that genuinely tries to use the medium of video games to tell its story, which is something I love in video games. It's not just an Uncharted of this is an action movie masquerading as a game,
right?
Or the other way around. But my point is, like, I can see why people love this game, but the combat and the actual things you do in terms of playing the game, at worst, are seriously frustrating to the point where whatever goodwill it builds up in other areas, the actually having to play the game throws it away, and this only gets worse as you go along, because the game has more than one playable character, and the second playable character, his gameplay largely revolves around the other styles of gameplay that this incorporates. Like, there are bullet hell style stages, shooting stages, and then you have like these hacking mini games that you can also do with his combat, and they're both very novel ideas that were like, wow, the first time I did it, like, this is kind of fun, and then the 10th time was like, okay, this is okay. And then the 50th time you have to do those stages, you just want to tear your fucking hair out because, it just runs it into the ground in a big way. Just so many elements like that of especially with the second playthrough, like you could have taken all the story elements of that and put it in the first route, but they don't. Instead, they force you to play through 80% of the game again just to progress to the final ending. It is, and I know that's what the other games in the series do, like with the multiple routes and stuff like that. But it just became unbearable at a point. And there are legitimately cool moments in this game that I loved, but every time something like that happened, it was then undercut by having to play some very unfun gameplay sequence.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's also like a pseudo open world game.
Oh yeah,
it really has no reason to be.
It's so weird how it's like that. I don't know why they did that.
Yeah.
It's just empty and boring.
It's clear that the game wants you to do a lot of its side quests and stuff, which I would have done if the gameplay had been more compelling. But it wasn't. So what happened was, because of that, I didn't spend enough time with the characters to care about any of them, which is when you get later in the story and the really heavy shit starts to happen. Like, that didn't affect me the same way I think it affected a lot of other people, because I just did not have the time with these characters spent that I was invested in what happened to them. And there is some actually interesting things that it does with its characters, but at the same time, like, even just looking at the story as a whole, there's very little that this game does that has not been done in other science fiction stories before. It is just like kind of a mishmash of those different ideas all put into one. That does make an interesting story, but not one that, like, I see a reason to hold this up as some kind of holy grail of video game storytelling, which I think a lot of people do. So, when I say like I'm very conflicted about this game, like, I've really, really wanted to like this kind of game, because, I like the style of weird Japanese shit. But like when your combat is on the tier of like a Sword Art Online game, and then even comparing it to that, those games still have more variety than this one. Like, that's not a good comparison to make. And at least when I buy a Sword Art Online game, I know what I'm getting. When I bought this, I was expecting something a lot more.
Right. Like, I think, I guess one thing I would say, like, a good thing to compare this game to, I guess, in terms of its, like, combat, it's almost kind of like the Platinum Games is like B-Team games that they made, like, for a quick buck, like the Transformers game.
Yeah.
And like the Ninja Turtles game and like
the Korra game.
The Legend of Korra game. Like, they're not bad combat mechanics. Like, it's not like they're bad. They're just really shallow and not particularly interesting. And it's like, it's certainly no Bayonetta or Metal Gear Rising in terms of like just pure fun and craziness. It's just, it's there. It's adequate, but it's like it's just disappointing for Platinum, and not.
And it's also a bit too much, because the game needs to really edit itself to get rid of a lot of that.
Yeah.
It like, especially when it comes to the ending of the game, it's a game that just does not know when to end. Like, it just keeps going and going, and at some point, it's like, I was ready to wash my hands of it, but I just kind of had to persevere through, because I want, like, everyone talks about how great the ending is, and it is a good ending, and the final boss is like the most Platinum Games thing in this game. It is legitimately cool, but everything else is just like, you could have just done just a little bit more here, and it would have been a more fulfilling experience.
I do really like the intro to the game. I feel like the intro is a very Platinum Games-ish thing.
Yeah.
Where like just fighting the giant fucking robot, and then like I think you rip off its hand or something, and you start punching it with its hand. Something like that.
Yeah, you control the hand.
Yeah, like that kind of stuff is great. But
That said,
again, that's at the very beginning of the game, and that's probably the best part of the game that I played so far.
and that said, even then it had a moment where, like, in my second playthrough, I died at the end of the prologue, and if you die in the prologue, you have to start at the very beginning.
Yeah, and
It's
like,
even slower in the Route B.
uh,
So I like as soon as I died, there was like half an hour of my life that was gone, and I was
Right.
like, I was ready to stop playing the game right there.
Yeah,
That's how
I
mad
know.
I was.
I can't, like I kind of made fun of that originally, but then when I really thought about it, like I made fun of the idea, like, wow, these people are seriously dying at the very beginning of the game, and like it's not difficult, but it's just, but then when you actually play it, it's like, wow, this is legitimately just really dumb and annoying and stupid, and I'm just wasting my time. And but yeah, like I completely understand like any criticisms, and you know, of course, any criticisms towards this game is gonna be thrown away because Matubi.
Yeah, and like she's an all right character, but the problem with her character is that she only becomes interesting in once you get to the revelations about her character at the end of the game. Throughout the whole time actually playing as her, the game doesn't give you much to latch onto other than being able to self-destruct and blow her skirt off. Like, that's cool. But in terms of actual
Now,
character...
Steve, I've seen the pictures. There's plenty to latch onto.
There is. And the game also, to its credit, has a few really cool fourth wall breaking moments that are not just like the traditional, like, talking to the audience kind of thing. Like, some of them talk to the audience without really talking to the audience. There's a really cool thing the game does with its settings. It has a lot of neat little ideas that in isolation are cool. It's just like, you know, there's just too much bullshit surrounding it to really be as positive as I would like to be about this game.
It sounds like it just has. It sounds like it needed to trim the fat.
Yeah.
A bit more. Which honestly sounds like your typical Yoko Taro game. Would you be surprised to learn that the original Nier is very similar to this game? In
Not
that
at all.
there's a lot of heavy combat, there's a lot of like just empty nothingness in the world. And most of the game is praised for its story and music.
I mean, yeah, the only thing anyone ever said that I heard about the original Nier was how great the soundtrack was. And then I get to this game, and you know, the music is it is actually good, but it is overbearing, as I described in the CT. Like, I think this soundtrack would be way better without vocals, because there are too many vocal tracks, and there's just too much of it.
Yeah.
If you listen to some of those tracks, just the instrumental versions of them, they are way better. And I think they would have set the atmosphere appropriately rather than trying to force you to feel something that's not necessarily what you want to feel at that time.
Right.
It's the difference between this game and Persona, where Persona, that soundtrack completely underscores what the game's doing. This one kind of overscores. It's overcompensating for the lack of compelling gameplay.
It's like the music is like it's like it's trying too hard.
Yes, that is exactly the case with this game.
Okay, I can definitely see that, and I doubt it does. It never gets as crazy as like what the older. That is one thing. The other Drakengard, one thing about those games is that I highly doubt that this game ever gets as memorable or as completely mindfucky as those games get. Such as, like, if you want to go know one of the endings of Drakengard, basically, like, a giant army of, like, evil demon babies come out and just start eating everything.
Hell yeah.
And there's also the ending, like, that's one cool thing about the series, is that Nier is actually based off of a non-canon ending from Drakengard, where like I forget, I don't know exactly how it happens because I never fucking played any of those games, but like something happens where a dragon ends up impaled on the top of like a building in New York City or some shit, and this somehow like causes like the end of the world or something.
Oh.
And Nier is an offshoot of that ending.
Yeah.
I don't get it, but that's apparently why. That's apparently a thing.
Yeah, there are a lot of, like, in terms of this game story, there are a lot of interesting revelations that aren't really crazy. Like, when they happen, you're like, oh yeah, I can see that. Like, it all fits within what the game is going for.
I don't really want to spoil this. I guess nobody else here is really going to play this game, but
Nope.
one
Maybe.
thing that kind of annoys me is that this game does kind of rip off the original Nier a little bit because so Steve, you know about the whole thing about when like you beat the game, you get like the last ending and you like erase the save file, right?
Yeah, that's what I did.
Yeah, that's literally the exact same thing that they did in the original Nier.
So they just did it again.
They just did it again.
And yeah, that's an interesting idea.
I've heard that is another thing. I've heard a lot of people say that they actually preferred the first Nier a lot more because it just felt like it felt way more impactful, which would not surprise me if that's true. Because I rarely ever hear people really talk about this game.
I suspect
being
a lot of the
emotional,
people, a lot of people who are most glowing about it are the people who did not play Nier.
That would not
Like-
surprise me.
Like
'cause
this is their first game of this type.
I have heard a lot of people who played this game because it's a sequel to Nier said that they
No
were
one fucking
disappointed.
played Nier.
Yeah, no one fucking played Nier. That is true. Nier
Actually,
is like
my one friend in college gave me a copy of Nier. Say, hey, this game's pretty cool. You should play it. And he gave it to me to borrow. And I played it for maybe like an hour. I had no clue what was going on. I had no clue what I was supposed to do. And I just gave it back to him like, yeah, no thanks. And he was like, you didn't like it? I was like, no. So
Nier is one of those games that's kind of like Deadly Premonition.
I got lost
Where-
in like this one town for like forever. I was like, fuck this.
It's one of those games like Deadly Premonition where you play it because like everybody says it's like really good and has a really good story, but the gameplay is kind of shitty. But
That's
it kinda
exactly why I played this game.
It grows on you as it goes along. The difference though is that Deadly Premonition is actually has like a really interesting story with really interesting characters, and it's just batshit insane. Whereas Nier is kind of just like slightly more disturbing, typical Japanese dark fantasy stuff,
Yeah.
and it's
Well,
not it's not
you know-
nearly as original.
Nearly.
I think you guys are actually. I
What?
think you guys are actually getting this wrong. Because to be fair, you have to have a
Maybe.
very high IQ to understand Nier. The themes are extremely subtle, and without a solid grasp on the mind of Yoko Taro, most of them will go over the typical gamer's head. There's Yoko's nihilistic outlook, which is definitely woven into his characterization. His personal philosophy draws heavily from fucking Jesus.
What the
shit.
fuck?
I was just gonna let you go.
I know.
Tell me,
I'm sorry. I'm too tired. I was
Tell me-
I was ready for bed 2 hours ago.
You're tired. It's 3 a.m.
Yeah, I know. I'm different from you fellas. You know, my sleep clock is around 10:30. It's like, hey, get the fucking bed.
tell me about how 2B's ass has like the golden ratio attached to it or something.
It's pretty nice.
It
I
is a
can't
pretty
deny
nice
that.
ass.
The chairman from prison school.
Yeah, the game is
quite
good
proud.
assets.
Matthew Matosis approved.
This is true.
Oh, you know what? I just realized something. There is one other game I could talk about
Go ahead.
that I don't know if anybody else here has played it. I did get Metroid Samus Returns
Mm.
and played it for a decent amount of time. I didn't beat it.
Was it a good Metroid game?
I mean, let me say this. I'm not.
Well, let's talk about if it was a good game first, then we can ask if it's a good Metroid game.
I got this game kind of just because it's like, oh, it's a new Metroid. Everybody's going crazy about like Metroid's finally returning. Fuck it, I'll give it a shot. It's a remake of Metroid 2, which is its biggest flaw because Metroid 2 just fucking sucks. Like, let's just get that out of the way.
It's not
Metroid.
good.
Metroid 2 sucks. It's boring and tedious and annoying, and this game is a remake of that, and it definitely takes Metroid 2 and makes it a lot more playable. The controls are really good. It looks really good for a 3DS game. The music is great. The biggest flaw with the game is that it's a fucking remake of Metroid 2. And thus, it's just really kind of boring and tedious. It's just not really all that fun. I've never really been a fan of Metroid to begin with. Like, the only Metroid game I've ever actually beaten and completed and actually really enjoyed was Metroid Prime. And I've tried playing, like, the 2D Metroids before. I've tried playing Super Metroid. I tried the original Metroid, which is even a bigger piece of shit. And they just never really appealed to me that much. It just felt like I was kind of like just running around, going down hallways, and trying to find some semblance of progress. And whenever I did, I'd generally be like, this is just not really fun. I'm just getting really bored really quickly. And Samus Returns is really no different. It definitely feels like a Metroid game. It's very... I mean, it's linear, but I mean, that's just because Metroid 2 is linear. And it feels like the kind of thing that Metroid fans wanted to get, and people seem to like it. And I will say this: it's a good game. It is a good Metroid game. It's probably, like, based off of what I heard, it's probably like the best Metroid game since the Game Boy. Well, not the Game Boy. Well, I guess it's the best 2D Metroid game in a while. I mean, it's the only 2D Metroid game we've gotten in a while. But I mean, if you like Metroid, you have no reason not to play it. At the same time, though, it's a remake of fucking Metroid 2. So it's just, I just couldn't get into it. Although it held my attention long enough to at least make me consider it worth at least trying. So
Well,
there you go.
I like Metroid now, so maybe I'll try out Samus Returns.
All right. You should
And-
give it a shot.
Yeah, I feel like people who bitch about like Metroid should never be linear. I think they have this idea in their heads about Super Metroid that just doesn't actually exist. Because Super Metroid, yeah, it doesn't point you in the exact direction, but there is a very clear intended path for the player to take.
Yeah,
Right.
hear that, Matt? You
Yeah,
fucking
just-
retard.
No, I'm not shit talking Matt. I'm not shit
Turn that
talking Matt
suicide into
whatsoever.
one, bitch.
Jesus Christ, man, let's calm down. I'm not talking to
It's 3 in
Matt.
the morning.
I'm talking to a straw man that just exists somewhere out there in the void. Who just hates who's just frothing at the mouth at the word linearity. And yeah, from what I hear about Samus Returns, it does sound like it's got a lot of repetition in it. But you know, I finally jumped on the train of Metroid because I played Super and I played all 3 Prime games, and none of them really clicked with me. Like, I had a decent time with them, but none of them really clicked with me. I think Metroid is those games are at their best when the power-ups speed up that sort of backtracking process. And Super's got that in spades. It's got quite a bit of that. Metroid Prime 2 is the absolute worst fucking offender in not doing that, in speeding up the backtracking process. To the point where I'm almost glad that Retro's not working on Metroid Prime 4. And I'm sorry, Steve.
Heresy.
I know. Because I see a great game in those Prime games, but they just never clicked with me. And Metroid only truly clicked with me when I played Fusion and Zero Mission. And Fusion's the absolute most linear one in the entire series.
I can hear the Metroid fans just reeing. Yeah.
Yes. And Zero Mission, some of that more linear stuff is optional. But if you are kind of on the fence on Metroid, if you're kind of iffy on it, I would have probably recommend Fusion as a starting point. I feel like that's a really good one to start with.
Yeah.
Or Zero Mission.
Yeah, one of those two.
Zero Mission I actually beat, and it was really fun.
Yeah, the games actually have a great sense of progression. Most Metroidvanias, that's to say, like, stuff that's aping that formula, they're kind of like, they're more like a linear sequence, or they're like a linear sequence of complex keys and locks, right? Whereas Metroid is the most maze-like Metroidvania. It's the only Metroidvania like that, really.
Yeah.
And you wonder, like, it's like, oh, Metroid's so influential, but it seems like most of these Metroidvanias aren't really taking that maze-like cue from Metroid. And I think there's a very clear reason as to why, as I think that people just tend to get bored or frustrated with that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, let's be honest here. Metroid is a very, very niche franchise, as much as people don't want to admit it. As much as the fucking Metroid fans will fucking whine about it. Can we talk about how Metroid fans are the worst fucking things ever?
Metroid fans are basically the equivalent of virtue signalers on Facebook. They're literally no better than them.
At least they can finally shut the fuck up now. You have 2 games to look forward to. I guess one's already out. Now you have Metroid Prime 4. The one is selling well, so congrats. They might make more. You got your fucking games. Now shut the fuck up. Bring on F-Zero, I guess.
Yeah, F-Zero fucking when?
F-Zero fucking sucks.
You suck.
Wow.
Get Platinum Games. Let's get a fucking F-Zero Platinum game developed.
Where's my Captain Falcon character action game?
Where's my... Exactly. I want to see Captain Falcon fight Black Bull on their fucking car.
Black Bull.
Now,
wait.
The Black Bull from Shadow the Hedgehog, the Black Bull from F-Zero, or the Black Bull from, like, interracial cuck porn.
I have to correct Matt here. The character's
All
name is
3.
Black Shadow. His vehicle is called the Black Bull.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I apologize for not knowing about the F-Zero lore.
Oh man.
Did you know Samurai Goro has a son named Daigoro?
Oh my god. Wouldn't it be awesome though, just to have a fucking like character action Captain Falcon game?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yeah, it would be pretty cool.
Fucking action game where you just play as him. Maybe like you like do races too that are like have some like crazy fucking attackers and stuff.
Maybe in the
boss fights on fucking hover cars. I don't know. Just go completely insane with it. They said they ran out of ideas for F-Zero, which is why they haven't made another one yet. Just go completely bonkers with it.
Like the cartoon?
No.
Oh god.
Oh.
No one remembers Bonkers.
You do, clearly.
Bonkers.
Oh, I thought you were referring to...
We're not talking about Bonkos. Bonkos.
Broncos.
I thought you were
Tell me about
referring
a
to
game
the
you played.
F-Zero anime.
No.
There's
I
some game
of
you
course
wanted to
was
talk about.
referring to the Disney cartoon Bonkers.
Okay, now I understand.
Yeah.
This podcast is bonkers.
Fuck, what was that game you wanted to talk about?
I have 1.5 more games to talk about. I'm gonna start with the
God,
0.5.
I hate funk.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hate
So
funk.
I wanted to give a brief little shout out to Steven's Sausage Roll, which I think came out this year.
Are you coming on to me?
Oh baby. So, Steven's Sausage Roll is a puzzle game,
Stop saying the title.
and what Steven's Sausage Roll is about is somebody, presumably Steven, rolling sausage rolls around. And the way that you achieve your objective is by rolling your sausage rolls onto a grill such that each side is cooked exactly once, but not more than once, because then your sausage roll will be a burnt sausage roll and you will lose and have to restart the level. But what I like the game a lot because of its mechanics, which are at first extremely obtuse and fucking annoying, because you move in a very rigid fashion. You're like a guy carrying around a fork on a grid, and you can't move through objects on the grid. But what's annoying is that the fork that you're carrying occupies its own space, so a lot of the game is like rotating your fork to get it into the right places to move your sausage rolls around. And yeah, so it's got like a very almost archaic grid-like rigid movement system. And your movements have to be very precise. Like if you move a sausage in the wrong way by accident while you're trying to rotate your fork, you can just lose right there. And the game is like a feature where you can rewind move by move that you make on the grid, which is very nice because otherwise, oh my god, it would be infuriating. It would be so mad. I would lose it. But the game's extremely difficult, which is why I wanted to bring it up.
Would you say it's the Dark Souls of sausage games?
Yeah. But only because it's everything of sausage games being the only one. It's simultaneously the Dark Souls, the Super Mario Galaxy 2, the Persona 3, and the Call of Duty World at War of sausage games, which is an amazing feat.
War
But
is truly hell.
yes, but no, it's very difficult, and like it's split up into worlds, like many games are, and each one kind of introduces its own mechanic to build on top of the previous ones. By the end of the first world, I was so spent by just solving the puzzles. It was so hard for me, in my little pea-sized brain, that by the time I got to the second world and they introduced the ability to spear your sausage rolls onto your fork and manipulate them, I had it. This is very important because usually, because of how they roll exactly in 180-degree rolls, it's very defined by what side is going to be roasted where and on what grill. But by being able to spear them and move them around at will, it flips that whole dynamic on its head. And you have exponentially more to think about and plan while solving each puzzle. They introduced this mechanic and I just stopped playing. I was like, this is way too hard for me. You see all these pictures of like Wojaks with increasingly caved in heads from their complete lack of a brain. And I just felt like just the lowest one where it's just caving in below his shoulders. Doesn't even have a head. Like that was me when reaching World 2 of Steven's Sausage Roll. Which is a real shame because it's a fantastic little game. If not, I think a little expensive, but it's got a lot of thought put into it. The puzzles are all fair. They don't feel like bullshit or like what am I supposed to do. The mechanics are made very clear and you're taught very well how to use them. It's just too difficult, which I think a lot of people would appreciate if they play a lot of puzzle games, and puzzle games and games in general have been getting easier as of late. So I think people would like that. But when you're a retard like me, it's a little much. So if anybody's listening and you want a good puzzle game to play and you have a high school diploma, then maybe you could do it, unlike me. That was the 0.5. So the full game that I want to give another brief shout out to is Taiko no Tatsujin Drum Session! Exclamation point, which came out 3 days before Mario Odyssey in a fit of unending confidence. And this game's great. It's a home version of the Taiko Drum Master arcade game. Comes with this nice little peripheral, little Taiko plastic drum that you can hit on and play the game with, so you're not using a shitty controller. And that's built quite well. I've played the game, I don't know, like 20 hours by now maybe, and it's still holding up. Rhythm game peripherals have a history of kind of breaking down on you, especially when you're just whacking them all the time, but this one's solid. And the game is just this. If you've ever played it in the arcade, it's a lot of fun. The mechanics are very simple. You either hit the center of the drum or you hit the rim of the drum, and those are the only two inputs that you have. So it's very easy to learn, but a lot of fun to play and very difficult to master. Playing on the hardest difficulty on some of the harder songs is I still fail out all the time, and this is after years of playing rhythm games. So it's definitely got the challenge going for it. It has a fun online mode, which I enjoyed because it has placement matches for some reason, which tickled me to no end. It's like, oh, I'm gonna play. I got to do my placement matches, and it was really funny because I don't know how it chooses this for the placement matches, but it's like, okay, you always play against somebody's ghost, and it's this person's ghost on an easy song on an easy difficulty, and I'm just sitting here like, doing 100% or whatever, full combo, and they're like just missing super easy notes. So it's got this weird aspect where you can just laugh at people who are worse than you. Kind of fun. And then once your placements are done and you're hopping in with the big leagues, you just get utterly destroyed by someone who's just choosing like the highest tier song and the hardest difficulty, because you're always forced to engage on the same difficulty to make it fair. And you can get blown the fuck out. People are really good at this. I've watched people play this game in the arcades, and like 12-year-old kids just walks up, pulls out his own drumsticks, doesn't need the ones that the arcade provides for you, and just goes fucking ham. It's crazy. But this is the perfect game just to have at home, because a lot of times when you play it in the arcade, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna play like 2 songs, bye 300 yen or whatever, and then be done with it. So now you can do that just at your convenience without having to spend like 300 every time you're out. And you can go for longer sessions too, because once you start chaining plays together, the value has such diminishing returns. Like I've sat there for half an hour playing the game and just sunk so much money into it. So by having the home version, it's fantastic. Yeah, and you can actually practice. You're not going to get better at the game by playing it once every like 3 weeks whenever you happen to pass by one. These games are so much more fun the more time you put into them and the better you get in just playing the harder songs. It's completely not fun to be restricted to the same group of songs over and over, because you're not getting any better at it because you play it so infrequently. So a home version is just fantastic. And it's not like it doesn't do anything. Oh, no, it does. It has great customization for your stupid little drum characters, Don-chan or whatever his name is. I made mine just completely black all over, and then have like, there's one accessory you can buy that's just like 2 high school girls like jumping on top of your drum and like fawning over it. So I chose that one, and I made sure to send a picture to DL. But it's you get a lot of cute Don-chans when you're playing against people online, and it's actually kind of fun just to see what people come up with, because there's so many upgrades, and you don't get them via a loot box. Amazingly, I don't know how they managed to figure out a system for doling out cosmetics without having to pay for it. It's pretty revolutionary, but that's a really fun part of it. I like just after playing for a session, jumping in, unlocking all, because they are loot boxes kind of, but you don't buy them. You just unlock them with currency in the game. You cannot buy them. You just they're doled out randomly through like a gacha. And gotcha. Through a gacha man crowds.
Oh no.
Yeah, I know. No, but it's fun. Once I saw that this game was getting a home release, I jumped on top of it. I bought it. I knew exactly what I was getting. I was not surprised. It doesn't have anything to write home about, but it's just what it says on the tin. It's a solid home version of the game that you played a bunch of times at the arcades. And if that's what you want, it's great. It does that perfectly. So, had to give the shout out.
Great. Great. Anyone else have any games they want to talk about before we wrap up?
No. I mean, no, it's not worth it. No.
You-
I
Okay.
fucking hate
It
video
sounds like you have something to say.
I mean, I bought Gundam Versus. This isn't a real game. This is a
What
piece
do you
of.
mean it's not a real game?
I mean, I don't have online, so there's no real point in me getting this. It was an impulse buy. It kind of just sits collecting dust. I don't know. That's all I have to say. I might trade it in, but yeah.
Collin, Matt?
Yeah.
I just don't like video games, man.
I guess shout out to Puyo Puyo Tetris for somehow taking up 60 hours of my life.
Good thing Frank's not here because we would talk about
Oh,
that game for
God.
2 fucking
God.
hours.
Oh God. Thank God.
Although technically, I know the Switch version came out this year, but
I know
It's-
I know it technically came out in like 2014,
yes, an old
but
ass game.
Japanese release does not count in my universe.
It's nice that we finally got a localized version of that game.
It is pretty cool, yeah.
And also, Frank fucking destroyed me in Tetris, and I can never play it again.
I like
Yeah.
the story. I like the little storyline about where like everything is just a fucking gay innuendo.
Uh huh.
There's a part. There's like a
I skipped all the story stuff.
there's like a DLC. There's like a DLC chapter in the game world, I guess you could call it, where the entire thing is basically just non-stop sexual innuendos.
Non-stop sausage rolls.
Yes, exactly.
Nice.
And it's all like homosexual innuendos too.
Whoa.
Well, at least none of you fell for the Battlefront 2 meme.
Oh God.
No, because
Oh,
we don't
Steve-
have our
Steve
heads
was safe in this one. He's like, I gotta put
No,
this at
actually,
the end.
I actually don't want to talk about this game because there's really not much to talk about.
Oh.
It's just Battlefront. The fucking microtransaction shit is dumb, and also it's not even as good as the first Battlefront. That is to say, the third Battlefront, which is also not as good as the first Battlefront or the second Battlefront. But this Battlefront 2 is also not as good as Battlefront,
Which is
2,
the fourth
so-
Battlefront.
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, it's not, because they made like 3 different Battlefront PSP games or some shit. There's even like a Battlefront DS game out there somewhere.
So what you're saying is that Battlefront 2 is more like Battlefront 6, which in turn is not as good as Battlefront 2, Battlefront 1, or Battlefront 5.
It's probably like Battlefront 8 at this point, but yes, more or less. All right.
At least at least the original classic Battlefront 2 now has online back again.
Yeah, that was nice of them.
We can get our Christian Hoth server back.
All right, before we end this shit, everyone has to give their game of the year.
Okay.
Now,
Can we
you
give like
have to give
top
you have
8?
to give it to one game, but you can also make a list if you want. I don't care what you want to do.
Sure.
Okay, my game of the year is Zelda. And I know we didn't talk about it. We had a whole other podcast where we talked about it. But my game of the year is Zelda.
Okay, I guess I'll go. My runner-ups are Cuphead, Mario Odyssey, and Sonic Mania. Game of the year, of course, is Zelda. Real quick, I didn't talk about this last time since I wasn't on that podcast, but I'll just say Zelda made me like video games again.
Oh
Wow.
my God.
This year I played like 5 to 6 like new video games, which is a world record.
This
Because
is a really fucking good year for video
Yes,
games, honestly.
in the previous like 5 to 6 years, I played maybe like 1 to 2 new games. So this Zelda really just brought me back in, and I'm forever grateful for that. So yeah, Zelda also just all around, of course, we all know, amazing game. So yeah, game of the year for me.
Or Matt, or whichever one it is.
You go, Funk.
Okay, so I have a top 3. Number 3 is the least game of the year, and number 1 is the most game of the year. So number 3, we have Mario Odyssey. Number 2, we have The Legend of Zelda: The Breath of the Wild of Zelda, and number 1 is Persona 5.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say Catherine.
I forgot that was a joke.
You blew it.
I did.
You blew it.
Hey, wait. No, actually, it still technically counts because there's Catherine DLC for Persona 5.
Oh
he's
my
right. I'm right.
god!
We
Okay,
did it.
you did it.
As long as a whatever the name of it is, Midnight Channel, Golden Channel, whatever that thing is from Catherine. As long as
The
a
Midnight
game,
Channel is from Persona 4.
What is the thing in Catherine then? There's a similar
The Golden Playhouse.
Golden Playhouse. Something in that vein. Fucking Fatless.
Okay, I guess it's my turn. Actually, I guess I do actually have a top 5. Number 5 is Splatoon 2.
Oh, I see.
Huh? What? What about what?
Colin's still just mad about Splatoon 2. So
Why?
don't worry about it.
What about it?
Because we won't play it with him.
Although, I mean, I would
I'm
play
always
it.
willing.
It's just that
Yeah.
there's no reason to play it right now, other than, I mean, the update made me want to play it again. I really liked it.
I mean,
I
he's
still
more
like
really mad at me because I won't play ranked to get ranked up so I can actually play with him.
Okay, well, Splatoon 2 is number 5. Sonic Mania is number 4. A Hat in Time is number 3. Super Mario Odyssey is number 2, with a pretty big fucking power gap between those two. Well, between everything else and Mario Odyssey. Which I think is probably my favorite Mario game that is not Paper Mario 2, The Thousand Year Door. And then number 1 is, I mean, what the fuck else would it be? It's Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. Because I bought that game on the Wii U and proceeded to play it for 10 hours straight, which is I don't think I've ever done that for a video game ever.
Steve.
All right.
Steve,
top 5.
that was your cue.
My top 5. And one of these may not be a super serious choice, but...
Don't say
I don't know.
Bubsy.
Maybe... I haven't played Bubsy, so I can't
Oh, neither have I. Hint.
Okay, number 5. Senran Kagura Peach Beach Splash.
Wow.
Which I legitimately had more fun playing than either Splatoon, Nier, or Horizon.
Oh my god.
Steve, eternally our guy.
Number 4, Sonic Mania. Number 3, Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. Number 2, Super Mario Odyssey. Number 1, Persona 5.
Yeah.
And I'd like to point out that those top 3, like, the difference between them is so minuscule, because those are, like, 3 of my favorite games ever, and they all came out this year, which is fucking insane.
But Persona 5 is clearly the best.
Persona 5 is the best experience I had playing a game all year, and yeah, it is just, like, even, like, in terms of, like, Mario versus Zelda, like, I only rank Mario higher because I like Mario better than Zelda, but Zelda is fucking amazing. So, it's just, like, it is actually hard ranking those 3 games, but Persona 5 is my game of the year.
It really kind of sucks that Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey came out in the same fucking year. Like, it's
Kinda.
amazing, but it also kind of sucks at the same time, because it's like...
Good luck 2018.
Seriously, yeah. This was probably the best year for video games since, like, fucking 2011. I don't know if any of you know what came out.
Skyrim?
11.
Skyrim.
was
Sonic
did.
Generations.
Portal
Skyrim,
2,
Sonic Generations, Dark Souls,
Bastion.
Skyward Sword, Bastion,
What
Super
year are we
Mario
talking about?
2011.
Oh, you mean the year Catherine came out?
Catherine.
Oh, no.
That is
February
true.
17th, 2011.
That is true. Portal 2. Portal 2, the actual best game of 2011.
Oh God.
But yeah,
Matt, noted Redditor.
listen, Portal 2
Oh no.
way before Reddit was ever like a big meme. Don't
Portal
even...
2 was Reddit before Reddit.
Portal 2 is proto Reddit.
Whatever helps you sleep at night, kid.
Proto honkers.
You guys don't appear to have bad tastes.
Thank you, Collin.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I eat your mom's pussy every night.
Well, I hope you enjoy a mouthful of ashes.
What?
Oh God.
I think we should probably end the podcast
I think
here.
we're done here.
All right, everyone say goodbye to video games in 2017.
Goodbye, video games in 2017.
Goodbye, current year.
Oh God.
Hello next year.
Yeah. See you.
Goodbye
Piece of
forever.
shit.